What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Minato and Kushina try to correct the mistake they made with Naruto? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, the yellow flash of hidden leaf, the sole reason the third great shinobi war ended, was feeling fear. Raw primal fear. Reason? A mistake he made. An honest mistake, but a grievous mistake, nonetheless. What did he do, you ask? He had committed infidelity. Infidelity on his beloved wife, Kushina Uzumaki. It wasn't his fault, honest. He had just been so overjoyed at the news he was going to be a father, that he had drunk himself stupid, in a public bar no less. Things have spiraled down from there. He didn't know how it happened, but he found himself with a naked woman the morning prior. In all honesty, he barely remembered bits and pieces. Who initiated it, he didn't know. He had been, just, so, drunk. While the infidelity that he had committed brought huge guilt on his being, almost threatening to overwhelm him, it wasn't the reason he was feeling such fear. Nay, it was the news he had just received from the woman who was seated in front of him right now. The same woman he had committed infidelity with a month ago. All things considered, the woman was beautiful. Certainly not as much as his fiery wife, in his opinion, but beautiful nonetheless. Soft round face framed by beautiful ebony tresses. Lovely onyx eyes on that pale face of hers. A slim but moderately curvaceous figure. Yes, she was beautiful. But what made her beauty truly shine was her nature. She was one of the gentlest women he had ever met. Even now, in an attempt to make him calm down, she was softly smiling at him. Please, calm down, Lord Hokage. There is no need to panic. God. Even her voice was so soft, so soothing. But he couldn't. He just couldn't calm down. How can I calm down after what you have just told me? It's going to dester. Please, Lord Hokage, she raised a hand placidly. Calm down. Nothing is going to be destroyed. I am not here to ruin your life or anything, Lord Hokage. What? Did he hear that right? Why, you aren't? A frown crossed her soft features. Of course not. Why would I do that? You're a great man, Lord Hokage. You're a good leader and an even better person. I am sure you are a wonderful husband to your wife too. Considering how you cried that morning after realizing what you've done. Not one of his best moments, but yes, he had cried after realizing what he had done. And it wasn't the only time he had cried after that. He couldn't tell Kushina what he had done. He was sure she would forgive him, she was truly kind like that, but not before she thrashed his ass in the most brutal of ways. But he just couldn't bring himself to do that. He knew she would be devastated at hearing that initially, just the thought of her in pain brought an ache to his heart. So, he just couldn't. For himself as much as for herself, he told himself. Of course, Kushina had noticed something was wrong with him, comforting him every time he felt down without even knowing the reason. Truly, he felt unworthy of her now. I am not sure about the husband part anymore, he muttered bitterly. She flashed him a comforting smile. Lord Hokage, please don't beat yourself over it. It was an honest mistake on both of our parts. You were drunk and I too was drunk. Neither of us could have anticipated what would happen after we got drunk. Please, stop beating yourself over it, it isn't healthy for you. God, he felt pathetic. Being comforted for the second time by the woman he had committed infidelity with was just so humiliating. She had also done the same thing when he was crying that morning. Emotions riding an all-time high, he just snapped. What do you want then? Surely you want something. If it wasn't like that, you wouldn't have come here in the first place. Full lips pursed in a straight line. You're right, I do want something. Ha, there it was. What do you want? Can I keep this child? A sound of utter disbelief left him. He blinked several times and parroted her words dumbly. You want to keep this child? Yes, full lips quirked back up in a gentle smile and she nodded. I want to keep this child. That's it? That is all you want? Was she joking? Surely she was. It couldn't be just that simple. Yes, that is all I want. Her onyx eyes went down to her stomach and a tender look, much tender than anything he had seen, entered her eyes. I never had anything to call my own, Lord Hokage. I was an orphan of the Uchiha clan. I never knew the love of a parent and I don't particularly have any interest in pursuing some kind of romantic relationship. So, even if this child is a mistake, I want to keep it. I want to raise him. I want to love him. I want to call him my own. Can I ask that of you, Lord Hokage? His throat felt dry. Faced with such an earnest plea, what else can he do except for accepting it? There was no deceit in her onyx eyes. No ulterior motive of any kind. Just a genuine desire to raise that child as her own. Nothing more, nothing else. That is all you want, really? Really, that is all I want. You don't even have to be there or do anything for him, rather, I would prefer it if you stayed away from him. I just want him as my own. I want to raise him all alone. Unless, a look of uncertainty came over her pale visage. You want me to abhor? No, 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 no. I can never ask you about that. Aborting a child? Denying the child to be born simply because they made a mistake? Unthinkable. Please, I cannot do that. No matter if it was a mistake or not, I can't deny the child the right to be born in this world. It would be wrong of us, downright cruel even. Oh, full lips parted in slight surprise at his vehement denial. A hopeful smile came on her face once the surprise wore off. So, can I keep the child? Of course you can, Minato nodded. He couldn't deny her request. Though, a frown crossed his face at remembering her previous words. You don't want me to do anything with him? Ah, yes, I would prefer that. It would be better for both of us. No one will ever know that he is yours if you never interacted with him by going out of your way. And this is purely a selfish reason of my own. But I want to raise him solely without anyone interfering with us. I do hope you can understand that. He did. No one will be able to make a connection between them if he never interacted with him. It would be good for both of their images from a political standpoint also, for him, infinitely so. But, not seeing and interacting with his own flesh and blood brought a terrible pang to his heart. Even though it was a mistake, it was still his child. But he knew, he couldn't deny this woman her sole request. How can he? She didn't ask for practically anything. Any other woman would have asked for anything, and he would have been forced to do that, in order to save his image as well as marriage. But still, I understand that, but can I ask you something? She nodded her head with a curious look etched on her face. You see, since I got married to Kushina, I always wanted a son. But I am going to have a daughter, not that I am unhappy about that. Gods no, I am immensely happy about that, but it's just, you're going to have a son, aren't you? She nodded her head again, even more curious where he was going with this. I know it's going to be extremely selfish of me, but can I please name him, at least? Consider it my first and final request as his father, please. Of course, Lord Hokage. She didn't even hesitate for a second before replying. A gentle smile formed on her face. How can I deny such a lovely request? What do you want to name him? Naruto. Such was his eagerness that he stammered over his own words. A faint flush rose on his cheeks as the woman in front of him giggled. Naruto. Maelstrom, correct? She tilted her head curiously. Yes, correct. It's a name taken from my sensei's book. I hope you don't mind. For the first time he had ever met her, a look of pure distaste appeared on her face. He didn't know she was even capable of it. I do hope you've not taken that name from Lord Jiraiya's famous smut. Have you, Lord Hokage? No, 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 no. It's not from that, believe me. It's from, wait, hold on. He reached for a drawer in his desk and opened it, shuffled some items aside, and pulled the thing he needed. He handed her the book. Here, I have taken the name from this book. It's sensei's work also, but it never got any recognition. The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi? She arched an eyebrow in question at reading the title. Curiosity got the better of her, she opened the book and started reading it right then and there. Minato didn't say anything, letting the woman read it. After all, he was asking her to name their son after a character of a book written by his sensei. And, well, his sensei was famous or infamous, depending on which gender you asked, only for his smut, so he was content to let her read it and make her decision after that. She closed the book with a smile on her face. Color me surprised, but this is good. I never thought Lord Jiraiya was capable of writing something actually good. Can I keep this book, if you don't mind, Lord Hokage? No, I don't mind. I have read it countless times, so you can keep it. While it was true that he had read that book countless times, he didn't give it to her for simply that reason. No, he knew she was serious when she had said she wanted him to stay away from their son. That meant doing absolutely nothing for him. No birthdays, no nothing. No passing down of anything that will connect them to each other. So, while it was a fairly simple thing, He hoped this book would be passed down to his son. This book was close to his heart. Very close. So even if it was a very unseemly thing, he wanted something to give to his son. She would never suspect it, but he would have passed something down to his son. At least, he hoped his son would get it. On the matter of his son. So, about his name. I don't mind. She smiled warmly at that. Naruto. Naruto Uchiha. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? It does. Minato nodded his head in agreement. It would have sounded infinitely better to him if it would have been Naruto Uzumaki or Naruto Namikaze, but even this was fine. What was done was done. He couldn't change it. He would accept it and live with the consequences of his action for the rest of his life like he had done many times before. Abruptly, the Uchiha woman stood up from the seat opposite to him. Then, I will be going, Lord Hokage. What I came here for is done and I have a doctor's appointment in a few minutes. If you will please excuse me. She bowed her head and gave a small smile to him as she turned around and started walking away. Makaira. He also stood up from his chair. Hearing her name being called, she turned around to face him and her onyx eyes widened at seeing him bent at the waist, bowing his head down in gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. What are you doing, Lord Hokage? A man of your stature shouldn't bow his head in front of commoners like us. She immediately stepped forward and placed both of her hands on his shoulders, forcing him to stand straight. Please, don't do that. It is very unbecoming of you. She chided him gently. He looked down at her face. She was a good head shorter than him. Slight tears were stinging at the corners of his eyes. Thank you. She shook her head. A gratitude-filled look came on her face. No, thank you, Lord Hokage, for giving me something to call my own. Even if it was a mistake, I don't regret it. You should also stop beating yourself over this. Mistakes happen. You should know this better than anyone. Just accept it and move on. You have a wife waiting at your home who will worry herself if you continue to be like this. If not for yourself, then for her. After all, she is also pregnant, right? Yeah, she is. Then don't make her worry, alright? It will be very bad for her health. It can even lead to a miscarriage if you continue to be like this and make her worry. Think about your unborn daughter and your wife before you think of anything else, okay? She gently wiped the tears that rolled down his cheeks with her thumbs and stepped back with a comforting smile on her face. I will. Thank you again for everything, Makaira. This time, he didn't bow his head, instead, offered her a gratitude-filled smile. It's all right, Lord Hokage. Have a pleasant day. Offering another smile and with a bow of her head, she turned around and started walking away. He watched with a small smile as Makaira walked away. He was sure, if he didn't meet Kushina and met her first, he would have fallen for her hard. She truly was the gentlest woman he had ever met. If she was the one who would be caring for their son, then he would truly turn in a wonderful man. At least, he can take solace in that. Even if he never saw his own son, at least, he knew he would be raised by this wonderful woman. Oh, and Lord Hokage. Makaira paused in her step and turned to look at him. Ah, yes? How should I say this? A look of uncertainty came over her face. Since I was drunk, I don't seem to remember much about that night. But, you were awful. I don't know much about intercourse since I was a virgin, but I don't think anyone ejaculates that fast, Lord Hokage. Personally, what I could remember of that night was just awful. Maybe you should talk to your wife about this. You know, she could be faking it all along to make you feel better. I think things like this should be discussed so that you can improve yourself, Lord Hokage. I see. She placed a delicate hand against her cheek and a truly worrying expression came over her face. I do hope my Naruto doesn't inherit this part of yours. I don't want my future daughter-in-law to feel such disappointment that I felt. Just stop, woman, just stop. His manly pride that was all but destroyed aside. He was now fearing for how his son might turn out to be. My God, this woman knew absolutely no tact. She was as blunt as a hammer. She was brutally honest. He knew she was not trying to be mean or anything. No, he doubted this woman actually has a mean bone in her whole body. Looking at her face, she was just concerned about him. God, she really was the nicest and the most brutally honest woman he had ever met. Two things were for sure at this moment. His pride as a man was all but destroyed and he was never going to take his sensei's advice on this. Never. Her eyes strayed to the wide window behind him and she glanced back at him. I must be going now, Lord Hokage. I am getting late for my appointment. Please excuse me. Go. Just go. Wonder what got him like that. She tilted her head in confusion as she saw Minato staring at the ground with a lifeless stare. She shrugged her shoulders and went on to attend her appointment. On that day, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, the yellow flash of Hidden Leaf, the man who ended the Third Great Shinobi War single-handedly, cried a lot. 7 years later, Mikaira hummed a nonsensical tune to herself as she worked in the kitchen. Swaying slightly to the tune she hummed, the soft sound of pitter-patter against the wooden flooring reached her ears and a smile lit up on her face. Immediately, she turned around. Welcome back, honey, did you have fun Oh? Her baby boy stood before her, sniffing softly, as he held a puppy close to his chest. Ma, Rico isn't breathing. A tender look came in her eyes and she sunk down to her knees in front of him. A delicate hand cupped his pale cheek, very much like her own. Her thumb wiped his tears as he sniffed softly. Oh, sweetie, you knew this was going to happen when you took him in, don't you? He nodded his head against her hand. His teary sapphire eyes looked into her onyx eyes. But I didn't want him to go, Ma. I know, honey, nobody wants to lose things precious to them. She removed her hand from his face and poked his chest softly with a finger. It hurts here, doesn't it? He nodded and looked down at Rico in his hands. Tears slowly falling onto his brown fur. A sad smile plucked at the corners of her mouth. It always does, dear. He sniffed softly as he looked back at her. Does it get better? Does this pain go away? She nodded with a rueful look. Sometimes. How? You learn to move on, my dear Naruto. She replied as she ran a hand through his spiky, golden blonde hair. How'd I? He looked down at Rico in his hands. Learn to move on, Ma? She worked her fingers against his scalp in an attempt to provide him with some comfort. You do that step by step, honey. Step by step. What is the first step, Ma? First, we bury him, Naruto. In our backyard? Yes, dear. She stood up and gave him a gentle smile. Come with me. She kept her hand in between his small shoulder blades and rubbed small circles as they walked towards their small backyard. Where do you want to bury him, Naruto? There, his teary eyes looked towards a small tree in the corner. It was his favorite spot. Wasn't that the place Rico used as a toilet? She tried to remember what it was used for. Oh, well, in the end, she shrugged her shoulders, deeming it unnecessary. Okay, honey, we will bury him there. Come, I will help you. She ran through some hand seals and forced her chakra into the ground through her feet. The result? A small portion of the ground split apart in front of the tree. It was a simple technique taught to every ninja during her time, with a single, very morbid purpose, to give their comrades that have fallen an immediate burial if the retrieval of the body wasn't possible. And to set up a trap, but that was a secondary purpose. There, she gestured towards the square hole in the ground. Gently lower him in it, Naruto. Okay. He did as he was asked. Sinking down to his knees, he gently lowered Rico in the hole. He ran his small hand through the fur. I will miss you, Rico? He rubbed at his eyes as they started to feel itchy, wiping the tears away in the process unintentionally. She stood patiently, watching him petting the deceased canine for the final time. She didn't say a word, letting him take as much time as he needed. Once he stood up on his own, she flashed him a comforting smile and beckoned him closer to her. He ran towards her and hugged her across her legs. She ran through a slightly different set of hand seals and channeled chakra into the ground by her feet. The grave closed on itself, sealing itself shut, leaving no evidence of there being a hole in the ground moments prior. Her work done, she focused on Naruto again. His entire frame was trembling against her as he sobbed. Hooking her arms under his armpits, she hoisted him up in her hold. His small arms tightened around her shoulders, grabbing fistfuls of her clothing. Head buried in the crook of her neck. There, she gently rocked him in her hold, exactly as she had done when he was just a baby. Stop crying, honey. I already miss him. I know. She kissed the side of his head and rubbed his back. That's natural. We miss those dear to us, Naruto. It hurts. It does. She started walking back inside their house. The loss of a loved one always hurts, Naruto. If I forget about him, will the pain go away? Is that the next step? While that is a way of making the pain go away, that is not the right thing to do, dear. She slid the sliding paper door to their backyard shut and continued walking inside their house. You should never forget about your loved ones, rather, always keep them and the memories you have made with them close to your heart. As long as you keep that person in your heart, they will never truly die. They will continue to live within you that way. So, Rico is not dead? In a physical sense, yes. In a spiritual sense, no. He lives within you, Naruto. His memory lives with you. But perhaps, she tilted her head to look at his face. Yes, she was right. He wasn't getting what she was talking about. This was something a 6-year-old would find hard to comprehend. This would not do. Tell me, honey, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Rico? He closed his eyes and a memory flashed in his mind. How Rico always came running towards me while wagging his tail whenever I came back home. See, her lips quirked up in a small smile. He lives within your memory. Whenever you will think about him, he will always appear like that in your mind. In that sense, he never truly died, Naruto. He lives within you. Oh, she looked at his face and nodded to herself. He finally got it. Though, with a touch of concern, she noted how he was constantly rubbing at his eyes. Now while that action can be interpreted as him wiping his tears away, she knew it was not just that. There was a distinct look of irritation on his face that everybody but her would have missed. Something to look at after he calmed down. She stepped inside their room and slid the paper sliding door shut behind her. Few silent strides brought her to their bed. She settled against the head rest of the bed with Naruto in her hold. Now, for the next step, she settled her chin on his small shoulder and softly whispered. Let it all out, Naruto. Don't hold anything back. Cry as much as you want. Boot, she pulled him slightly away until they were face to face. You will not be allowed to cry again. Strong boys don't cry much and never make anyone cry. You're a strong boy, she tilted her head questioningly. Aren't you? Rubbing at his itchy eyes, he nodded. I am. Good, she kissed his forehead and pulled him closer in her embrace. Then let it all out, Kay? He didn't reply verbally to her and just buried his head in her shoulder. For a long time, they sat at the bed. She didn't know how long they stayed like that. It could have been seconds, minutes, or even an hour. Truthfully, it didn't matter to her. All that mattered to her was having him in her arms and comforting him. Easing him out of his sorrow. Eventually, his trembling stopped. His tears also stopped. Only occasional hiccups were all she heard from him. Her fingers haven't stopped threading soothingly in his spiky mop of golden blonde hair and she continued to rub his back. She hummed as he finally stopped. Feeling better, sweetie? Naruto nodded his head against her shoulder. A little. Good. She smiled. She tilted her head to look at his face and a concerned frown came on her face at seeing him rub at his eyes again. Why are you rubbing your eyes so much, Naruto? Another rub. They feel really itchy, Ma. Is that so? Full lips pursed in a straight line. She had an inkling where this was going. And she didn't like that thought. Removing him from her embrace, she settled him directly in front of her. Removing both of his hands away from his face, she cupped both of his cheeks to keep his face straight. Naturally, his eyes feeling extremely itchy, he squirmed in his position. She gently chided him. Honey, let me take a look. Keep calm for some moments. But, Ma, they're really itchy. I know, sweetie, but please, bear with me for some moments. Okay. She placed a chaste kiss on his forehead. Good boy. Now let's take a look at your eyes, okay? One look at his eyes confirmed her suspicion. His sapphire eyes were flickering between blue and red. A frown appeared on her delicate features. Well, this isn't good. Is something, yow. Naruto yelped in pain and covered his eyes with both of his hands. Makaira watched with a conflicted expression as her son unlocked their clan's prided bloodline. She supposed she should be happy, prideful even, at the fact her son unlocked their clan's famed bloodline. But she wasn't, not a single bit. Ma, something is happy, ouch. He yelped again in pain. His eyes were throbbing with pain now. I know, honey. The pain will go away any second now, stay strong. It's getting, huh? A sound of confusion left him. The pain abruptly stopped, as his mother told him. It was like it was never there, to begin with. The itchiness he was feeling moments prior was also not there. Confused about what happened, he removed both of his hands away from his eyes. Slowly, he opened his eyes. His mother's beautiful face came into his vision. But something was different, he immediately noticed. There was a clarity in his vision there never was. So much so, if he so wished, he could have counted the number of her eyelashes without any effort. Looking around in wonder, he saw a mosquito flying nearby. The more he looked on, the more he became fascinated. He could see the small wings of the mosquito flapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His eyes widened in realization. He was able to count how many times the mosquito flapped its wings. Wide-eyed, he turned his gaze back to his mother. She was softly smiling at him like she always did, but there was a touch of amusement in her expression. Interesting, isn't it? His jaw slacked in shock. She hadn't said anything. Her lips had moved, certainly, but there was no sound, and yet he had perfectly understood what she wanted to say. He was able to read her lips. He didn't have the slightest of the clues at what was happening. But this is so awesome. With all the energy of a 6-year-old getting a new toy, he cheered and laughed with joy. All her personal feelings aside at her beloved son unlocking their famed bloodline, she just couldn't stop herself from getting affected by his infectious joy. Seeing the childlike wonder and joy on his face, she giggled. Her son was so cute. Ma, I don't know what is happening, but I can see everything. I know, I just read your lips. I know, I could even count the flaps of that mosquito's wings. How cool is that? It is very cool. I could even see the wrinkles on your face. Wrinkles? On mine? Really? She touched her own face in horror. Wrinkles? Preposterous. She was still very young, damn it. She took very good care of herself. He must be joking. Yes, there was absolutely no way there were wrinkles on her face. Looking at his grinning face. Wait, grinning face? Oh, you cheeky boy. Come here. Ah ha 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 ha. I am. Ha 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 ha. Sorry. Who got wrinkles, huh? Whom? I am so. Ah ha 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 ha. Stop it. Ah ha ha ha. Ma. Laughing, she let go of him, stopping her tickling assault for now. His healthy pale face was flushed from laughing too much, matching his vibrant scarlet eyes. Now that she thought about it, his eyes were unusually bright. She had never seen such a brilliant shade of red before. All the fellow users of their famed bloodline she had met, they all had a rather dull shade of red. But his eyes were simply mesmerizing. There was a sort of purity to the, oh, Ma, why am I suddenly seeing everything so much clearer? A soft smile played on her lips. That's because you have unlocked our clan's bloodline, sweetie. It is called the Sharingan. The Sharingan is often described as the eyes that reflect the heart. She understood why his Sharingan was so vibrant, why they held a sort of purity to them, why they were so mesmerizing. He tilted his head to the side in an adorable manner. Sherry what? A giggle escaped her. Sharingan, sweetie. He bobbed his head in understanding. Yes, Sharingan. What is it? It's the famed bloodline of our clan, regarded as one of the 3 great dujutsu in the world. It's special. There was a distinct look of conflict on her face as she finished. Oh, he tilted his head to the side and pointed a finger to himself. Am I special, then? Her lips quirked back up in a soft smile. Though, this time, her smile was filled with adoration. Yes, Naruto. You're very special. Ehehehe. I am special. He rubbed his nape and his nose was turning a little red. She shook her head with a loving smile. Sheesh, her son was adorable. He was even more adorable when embarrassed, like now. He suddenly seemed to perk up at something. Say, Ma, do you have this Sharingan? I do, she nodded her head. Knowing what he will ask next, she channeled chakra into her eyes and they changed into the prided bloodline of their clan. Naturally, unlike her son, who had single tomo in both of his newly awakened Sharingan, hers were fully matured, with 3 tomo in both eyes. He stared at her Sharingan with wonder. Since his Sharingan was still active, he saw something in her Sharingan. Seeing his own reflection in her eyes, he noted a difference. Ma, why does your Sharingan have 3 coma-like things and my only one? Because my Sharingan is fully matured, honey, while your Sharingan just manifested. You first learned how to crawl first, right? You didn't start running right away, did you? His face scrunched up in confusion. I don't know, Ma. I don't remember. Right, she nodded her head in understanding. Kids don't remember something like that. It was her own fault at saying something like that. What I meant to say, sweetie, that you start as a child first, don't you? It takes time for one to grow up and become mature. That's the same thing with our Sharingan, it takes time to mature. Oh, so it was like that. He nodded in understanding. It will take time. That's okay, he wasn't in the hurry of anything. Although, what is this Sharon, huh? Was it just him or was the world suddenly spinning? His supervision was also back to normal on its own. And just why was he feeling so tired? Sleep sounded so good, right now. Oh, yeah, sleep sounded just so good. Naruto. Reacting quickly, she caught him before he could fall off the bed. Positioning him in a resting position and setting his head down in her lap, she looked down at his face worriedly. Are you alright, sweetie? So, tired, sleepy? Oh, he ran out of chakra. Given he only had average chakra reserves like her, he was bound to run off quickly. He was also 6 years old, his chakra reserves were even smaller at this point. She supposed it was a good thing she had at least made him unlock his chakra when he was younger, otherwise, he would have fainted the moment his Sharingan got activated. It's all right, sweetie, sleep for now. She gently ran her hand through his hair as he was already out. Looking down at his face, a frown crossed her features. She had hoped he would never awaken the Sharingan. She knew, now that he had awakened it, he would begin taking an interest in it. He was a curious child like that. And the more knowledgeable he would get about it, he would eventually want to become a shinobi. She didn't want that. The life of a shinobi was hard. Very hard. It was not for people with gentle hearts. People like her son were not suited for the life of killing, deception, among many other heinous things. That's why she had kept him away from shinobi-related things. She scarcely used any jutsu in front of him. Today was an exception and he was not particularly focused on her, so it was fine. Whenever he had caught her doing a jutsu, obviously, like any child of his age, he was fascinated, but other than that, he had not taken an interest in it. It just always remained as a minor fascination. Though she was also quick to change the topic, and being a kid, his attention span was relatively less, so it wasn't that hard to divert his focus to other things. But now that he had taken an interest in the Sharingan, things would change. She knew, if he really wanted to become one, she wouldn't be able to deny him. She had never been able to deny him, she was wrapped around his little fingers like that. She just hoped he wouldn't hope to become one. But she already knew it was a fool's hope. Call it mother's intuition or whatever, she just knew her son would want to become one. Oh well, she would support him in whatever he wanted to do. In the end, all that mattered to her was he remained happy. And she was willing to do anything to keep him happy. She bent down a little, it was a little awkward given her position, but she managed to place a chaste kiss on his forehead. I love you so much, Naruto. The corner of his lips twitched upwards and he snuggled deeper in her lap. Love you, too, Ma. Ah, she felt like squealing. Gosh, he was adorable. Why do I feel like I am forgetting something? Oh, well, if it really was that important, I would have remembered it. It's probably nothing. Shaking her head, she reached for the bedside table, picking her unfinished book up and started reading to spend time away as Naruto slept. Are you really alright, sweetie? Yes, Ma, I am fine. Are you sure? Chakra exhaustion for the first time can be quite intense. I do feel a bit sluggish, but I am fine. That's normal. If you're fine with that, then I suppose it's alright. By the way, Ma, which restaurant are we going to today? Where do you want to go? That ramen stand we went to last week. What was its name, Ma? You mean Ichiraku Ramen? Yes, that one. Let's go there. I really liked their ramen. Sure, I don't mind. Their ramen was really good. Yeah, it was. They made quite a pair as they walked through the busy streets of their village. Since it was very rare for an Uchiha to be seen in any other color other than navy blue or black, they attracted quite some attention. Her dear son never liked those colors, considering them to be too gloomy, his words not hers. She was inclined to agree after having him. They really were gloomy. He, like his personality, liked vibrant colors. Orange was his favorite. He considered the color to be a very cheery and happy color, again, his words not hers. And yet again, she was inclined to agree with him on that. When used in moderation, orange really was a good color. While he was dressed in the usual high-collared t-shirts that were normal in the Uchiha clan, the color was different. The t-shirt was of a burnt orange color with white shorts and sandals. Likewise, since having him, her life also had become more colorful, to say the least. Wearing a white sundress that ended on her calves, and like him, She also wore sandals, but heeled ones. Though both of them did have something in common. Both have the Uchiha crest proudly stitched on the back of their clothes like every other Uchiha. While her gentle beauty did turn a few heads, it was her son who attracted almost everyone's attention at least once. Since, well, he was the only blonde Uchiha in the entire clan in addition to having bright sapphire eyes instead of their common onyx eyes. Yeah, he cut quite an interesting picture. His behavior was also something of an anomaly to others. He didn't act like a typical Uchiha. Every Uchiha, for some strange reason, did have some type of arrogance right from their childhood. Certainly, she was no different. Even she was quite when she was his age. Things happened and she changed. Like anyone else, she matured, you could say, turning into what she was today. Perhaps it was her own personality that affected her son. No, she was sure it was her personality that had affected her son. Regardless, she was thankful he was different from the typical Uchiha. She didn't want a son who was arrogant, had a proper resting bitch face of his own all the time, and sometimes replied only in single syllables. A shudder went through her body. Oh, yeah, she definitely didn't want a typical Uchiha as a child. More than enough people have wondered if he was actually adopted, though one look at his face quelled any doubt anyone ever had. Except for the spiky golden blonde hair and sapphire eyes, he was practically a mini-me of hers. Same soft round face, same round eye shape, and the same healthy pale skin. If she made him wear a wig and eye contact lenses that resembled her own eyes and hair, he would not be considered a male anymore. He had her gentle beauty to him, after all. Perhaps she should try that. It would certainly make for a fun memory. Get some pictures too, so she will be able to show that to her future daughter-in-law and embarrass her son. Now that definitely sounded like an idea. Honey. Yes, Ma, we're going to make a detour today. I have some things I have to buy. Oh, okay. Why did that sentence fill him with dread? What was she going to buy? And why does he get the feeling that he was not going to like it at all? Good boy. She beamed brightly at him. Ah, well, it couldn't be that bad, right? His mother was beaming, so surely it couldn't be that bad, right? Right? So then why was he getting this feeling that he was going to get roped into something really embarrassing? But after having dinner, of course. She added as an afterthought, thinking of all the different kinds of looks that will suit him. Okay, mind easily distracted by the thoughts of dinner. Naruto remained blissfully unaware of all the embarrassment he was going to suffer in the near future. Turns out, the important thing she forgot about was the dinner she was making. Everything she was making was either overcooked or she did not start cooking them at all. So, here they were now, going to eat dinner out. It didn't take them too long in reaching the bustling ramen stand. Pushing aside the flaps hanging at the entrance, the mother-son duo entered the ramen stand. Thankfully for both of them, 2 stools at the corner were unoccupied at the moment. Smiling at each other at their luck, both of them quickly got seated on the seats. Good evening. Welcome to the Ichir. Oh, well, if it isn't the cute blonde from last week. How are you doing, Blondie? A petite 12-year-old, bubbly brunette greeted them, or, well, her son in particular. I am doing good, thank you for asking, big sis. How are you? Manners were something she was sure to teach him. No child of hers will be impolite or without manners, for that matter. Oh, I am good, the daughter of the stand's owner replied with an airy wave of her hand. She grinned as she planted an enclosed fist on her hip. So, what can I get you today, cutie? While she did look forward to the day she would get a daughter-in-law, she wasn't in any particular hurry as of now. She saw fit to remind this bubbly, flirty girl she was also here. As if realizing for the first time she was here, the brunette's grin faltered and she immediately bowed her head, whether it was in an apology or greeting or a mixture of two, only she knew. I am so sorry. I didn't realize you were there, ma'am. Please, do forgive me. Ah, she placed a dainty hand against her cheek, giving a small, placid smile. There's nothing to be sorry about, it's all right. My dear son is very cute, I don't blame you for forgetting me. Though, I would prefer it if you didn't try to flirt with him until he is of proper age. The brunette girl in front of her colored to the very roots of her hair. In front of such a blunt response, she sputtered. I wasn't flirting with him. Abruptly, the sound of rambunctious laughter rang from behind the brunette. Ha 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 ha, see, I have told you to not go after every cute boy you see, Ayame. Now you just got told by the young lad's mother. Utterly embarrassed, Ayame whined piteously, hiding her flushed face in her hands. D tilde. The owner of the stand came behind Ayame and affectionately tousled her brunette locks. The man gave both of them a pleasant, welcoming smile he is known for. Do forgive my lass here. She, like most other girls her age, is interested in cute young boys. And your young lad is a very cute boy, Lady Uchiha. Please, Makaira returned the pleasant smile. There is no need for that. Girls and boys her age do start to take interest in the opposite gender, so there is nothing wrong about that. And please, don't be so formal with me, Mr. Tucci. I am not someone of very high stature in our clan, so you can just address me by my name. Oh, Tucci blinked in surprise at the woman's attitude. He just couldn't stop himself from asking, are you really sure you are from the Uchiha clan? Bell-like pleasant laughter emerged from Makaira. Hiding her smile behind her open palm, she nodded. I can assure you, Mr. Tucci, my son and I are from the Uchiha clan. At the mention of her son, his eyes went towards the blonde boy sitting beside her. They lit up in remembrance at the sight of him. You're Naruto, correct, boy? Naruto blinked in surprise but nodded his head nonetheless. Ah, yes, my name is Naruto. Naruto Uchiha. How do you know my name, Mr. Tucci? Oh, Ayame here, tousling her hair once more, which earned him an annoyed huff from his daughter. Did tell me about you. Particularly how a cute blonde Uchiha came last week. Since there aren't many or any, for that matter, blondes in the Uchiha clan, I was able to remember it. Naruto bobbed his head in understanding. He had never met any Uchiha with blonde hair, so he got why people found him hard to forget. You didn't have to tell him that. Stupid dad. Ayame grumbled under her breath. Tucci laughed jovially, patting her head affectionately. It's all right, Ayame. Turning towards the mother and son duo, he gave them a wide smile. So what can I get you too? Oh, me first. Naruto raised his hand excitedly. Makaira giggled beside him and nodded. Sure, you can go ahead, honey. Tucci also laughed at the blonde's excitable behavior and pulled a notepad out from his apron's pocket. Go ahead, boy. What would you like? One large bowl of miso ramen with braised pork. Oh, and add extra pork. Extra Narutomaki. You know what? Add extra everything. Tucci laughed as he noted down the order. Amusement twinkled in his eyes as he looked at the blonde boy. Are you sure you could eat everything, boy? I can eat everything, thank you very much. Naruto crossed his arms in front of his small chest with a huff. Tucci laughed at his reply. The kid really was cute. And so very cheeky. He could understand why Ayame took an instant liking to him. Alright, one order of miso ramen with extra everything. What would you like to have, Mrs. Uchiha? Ms. Uchiha, Mr. Tucci. I am not married. Makaira corrected him politely. Oh, do forgive me, Ms. Uchiha. What would you like to have? While he was surprised, he let the matter pass quickly. It simply wasn't his place to ask anything. And both the mother and son looked happy with each other, and that was all he cared for, really. Where did the boy come from, who cares? But he knew that much that he really was her son, the similarities between them was as clear as day. Makaira smiled softly at the older man. Glad he did not dig in her personal matters like many others. I would like the same thing as my son, but don't add the pork in it, Mr. Tucci. 2 large bowls of miso ramen. One with extra everything and no braised pork in the other. Alright. Jotting down the order, he looked at the duo with a pleasant smile. The order will be with you too shortly, please enjoy your stay until then. We will. Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Makaira gave a pleasant smile of her own in return. The ramen stand owner nodded and patted his daughter's head to get her attention. And you, young lady, get to attending other orders. You can flirt with him later. As I said, I wasn't flirting with him. Stupid dad. Ayame stomped her foot in indignation. Tucci laughed heartily and got back to making dinner. Just get to it, Ayame. Ayame, HMPHED, and looked at the cute blonde with a grin. See you later, Naruto. She was quick to change unless she suffered more teasing from her stupid dad. Bye-bye, big sis. Naruto cheerfully waved. Ayame couldn't help herself. Leaning over the counter, she pinched the strange Uchiha's cheeks, gushing, all the while. Ah, you're just so cute. Forgotten again. Makaira saw fit to remind the bubbly girl she was still here. Ahem. Flushing again, Ayame let go of a whining Naruto's cheeks, bowed her head, and bolted away from there. Makaira giggled at the girl's behavior. They are nice, aren't they, Ma? She turned her head to look at her son, who was nursing his reddened cheeks but had a smile on his face. She nodded her head with a gentle smile tugging at the corner of her lips. They are, sweetie. He tilted his head with an inquisitive look on his face. Can we come here again? She reached out with her hand to pet his head. Of course we can. Boot, she started poking at his sides with a finger. Do eat in moderation, we don't want you to get fat now, do we? He started squirming in his seat, and before long, he was laughing. Stop, Ma, ahahaha, that tickles, ahahaha, stop. They received some strange looks from people around them, at how the two Uchiha were acting, but they ignored them easily. Used to the attention they get. Of course, some looks were less than pleasant. Those of mistrust or downright hate aimed at the duo. But those looks were only from a few. Those were the people who blamed the Uchiha clan for initiating the Nine Tails attack 6 years ago. Though the looks of mistrust and hate were increasing day by day, they both weren't really bothered by them. Happy as they were just being with the other. 2 large bowls of ramen were placed in front of them, directing their attention away from each other to the ramen placed in front of them. My, that was quick. Makaira looked at the ramen bowl in surprise. Tucci laughed. Of course, we pride ourselves on the taste and our quick service. Nothing less than our full effort is acceptable. I see. Full lips quirked up in a small smile. Well, dig in before it gets cold. And I have added extra everything like you asked, and boy. Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Tucci nodded his head with a wide smile and went on to continue his work. Makaira looked at Naruto and smiled softly. Shall we? Naruto grinned and bobbed his head eagerly. He was very hungry, after all. Chakra exhaustion can do that to you. Both of them closed their eyes and clapped their hands in prayer. Thank you for the food. Once done with their prayer, both of them broke their chopsticks apart and dug into their meals. Of course, it was done with proper etiquette she had taught him. No spillage of anything and with proper, slow bites, chewing everything with his mouth closed and not swallowing it straight. She was raising a child, after all, not some savage. A child without proper etiquette represented the lack of ability of the parent. And if there was one thing she was going to absolutely excel in, it was being a parent. Gods damn it, she was going to turn him into a proper man. And no one, absolutely no one can stop her. In sync, both of them raised the bowl to their mouths and drank the flavorful broth. Placing the bowl back on the counter, both heaved a satisfying sigh. Clapping their hands back together in prayer. Thank you for the delicious meal. Naruto looked at his mother with a toothy grin. That was good, Ma. She nodded with a small grin of her own. It really was good. Everything about the meal was perfect. The consistency of the broth, the thickness of the noodle, the freshness of the vegetables and meat. Everything was perfectly cooked and spiced. She really wouldn't mind eating here on a weekly basis. And looking at the face of her son, he was of the same mind as hers. Though, he might not agree on the weekly basis part. And she would be correct. Let's come here every day, Ma. Naruto, she patted his head and gently chided him. What did I say about moderation? Everything is good only in a limit. If you overdo it, it will be bad for your health. Understand? Though he pouted, he nodded his head, nonetheless. Okay. She ruffled his hair affectionately. Good boy. I do hope the meal was to both of your likings. They both turned towards the sound of the stand's owner and saw him standing behind the counter with the same smile he was famous for. Ah, yes. It was very delicious, Mr. Tucci. I doubt we would ever have ramen that good anywhere else. Naruto bobbed his head in agreement to his mother's words. It was super good, Mr. Tucci. A rambunctious laugh burst out of the ramen stand owner. I am glad you liked it, and boy. Retrieving the purse from her side pocket, Makaira looked up at the middle-aged man inquisitively. How much is it for the meal, Mr. Tucci? The man waved his hand in dismissal. There's no need, Ms. Uchiha. Consider it on the house today. I beg your pardon? She blinked in shock. Another laugh burst out of him. As I said, there's no need to pay for the meal today, Ms. Uchiha. I get the feeling the boy here is going to be a regular in the future. And we rarely get to have an Uchiha as our customer. Consider it as an investment if you will. Ha 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 ha. She knew well enough the man was just jesting, if his jovial laugh already wasn't an indicator enough. She supposed this particular hospitality of his is what made the stall so famous. Despite this being the second time visiting the stall in her entire life, she was already sold due to the hospitality. And food. Don't forget about the food. Still, she insisted. I am sorry, Mr. Tucci, but I can't take advantage of your generosity like this in my good conscience. After all, it takes time and effort to make food. You shouldn't give it out for free, Mr. Tucci. People will start coming in hopes to get food for free if they saw you giving it away like that. Tucci's jaw slackened slightly. Was this woman scolding him? What the hell? Mikhaira was still far from finished. And you should also consider your age, Mr. Tucci. You're not getting any younger, and you have a daughter to look after. If you keep giving away food for free like that, how will you save up for her future? Think about your coming old age and your daughter before giving away food for free like that. Do you understand, Mr. Tucci? Yeah, good. So how much is it, Mr. Tucci? 1900 Rio. Here, hope you have a pleasant day, Mr. Tucci. Bye-bye, Mr. Tucci. We will be coming again. Go, just go. Both mother and son tilted their heads with confusion as they saw Tucci staring at the ground with a lifeless stare. Wonder what got him like that. They both looked at each other and shrugged. Going on their own merry way. Is Naruto gone? Daadddd? What happened to you? Ayame shrieked when she saw the state her father was in. Old. Save money. For Ayame. Dad? Old. I am old. Dad? Old age. Death. Daadddd? On that day, Tucci, the owner of the Ichiraku Ramen, the genius businessman, the master chef, cried. A lot. Narumi Uzumaki had enough. Ever since she had been kicked out of the orphanage on her last birthday, she had been forced to live on the streets. Still, she survived on her own. She found food, found shelter, and she lived. Food was relatively simple to find. Restaurants were her main source of food. They were the ones who threw most food away. So it was a good source for her. Every night, when the restaurants closed down, she rummaged through the trash. She didn't dare to step a foot around the restaurants in daylight. The last time she did, she had been pelted by stones. Stones hurt. So, only at night. Finding shelter was a difficult thing. She had to change her location every 3 days, or the villagers may find her if she lingered at the same location too long. The last time they did, she had been pelted by stones. Stones really hurt. She had tried to live in the forest, but let's just say, a forest is a dangerous place. The animals there get feral as soon as she gets near them, so yeah, the forest is a big no-no. All things considered, her life was normal. Well, as normal as a homeless child's life can be, if you just ignored the constant sneers, jeers, taunts, and the occasional pelting she received from everyone in the village on a daily basis. Oh, and did she tell you about a gigantic fox with 9 tails in her gut? Yeah, there is that too. Vixen, brat. The deep, booming, feminine voice reverberated in her mind. Vixen, everyone. Not a fox, Vixen. Her bad. So as you can see, her life was relatively simple. Simple in the most utterly fucked up way, but simple, nonetheless. So now you may be wondering, what did she have enough of? Why, it would be of the sneers, jeers, and taunts of course. While she had learned to keep an aloof look on her face, as to show nothing bothered her. They did bother her. They bothered her more than she could express in words. They were harsh words. Very harsh words. They hurt. So much. But she knew, if she showed weakness in front of them, they would pounce on that weakness. Like hungry wolves on a wounded animal. They would try to inflict more pain on her, whether it be emotionally or physically, it didn't matter to them. As long as she was in pain, they would be happy. And she refused to give them any sort of happiness or satisfaction. She refused everything. She was a strong girl. So she refused to show weakness. But sometimes, even the strong breaks. Everyone had a breaking point. Today was hers. Months of verbal and physical abuse got to her today. So, she ran. She ran away from everything. Evading all the stares. Unhearing all the taunts. She ran. Not looking up. She ran. Bitter tears stung at the corner of her eyes, but she ran. Not acknowledging anything in her way, she ran. Her stomach growled in hunger, but she still ran. She ran and ran and ran. Just to get away from everything. To find a safe place for tonight. She ran until she tripped. A single stone in her way, or perhaps someone had thrown it purposefully in her way, regardless, she tripped. Closing her eyes, she braced herself for her face to meet the cold, hard asphalt. Instead, her face didn't collide with the asphalt, it collided with someone's back. Even while falling, dread gripped her heart. This was even worse. She would have preferred the pain, but not this. There was a high-pitched yelp that distinctively sounded like the voice of a boy of her age to her, before they both fell on the cold, hard ground. She fell on top of the boy, and the boy fell on the ground face first, more specifically. Naruto. Dazed as she was, she scarcely heard the worried feminine shout. It wasn't until the body beneath her started to move, she started panicking. She jerked away from the body beneath her, skittering back on her butt rapidly. Pain flared in her knee and she glanced at her knee with a wince. Her right knee was scraped badly. Blood oozed from the wound and dripped to the ground. Glancing at the rock which had tripped her, one look at its bloody surface confirmed how she got such an injury just from falling. Immediately, she tried to stand, to get away from here as quickly as possible. The pain stopped her dead in her tracks. In pain, she whined. "Furball, please, heal me. It hurts." "Not now, brat. Look around you." The deep feminine voice hissed in her mind. Narumi did look around with teary eyes. And immediately, she understood why her request was denied. Every set of eyes was fixed on her prone form, brimming with hate and scorn. Some were even smiling at seeing her in pain. Trash, the lot of them. That's why I loathe your kind. Every single one is the same. The Nine Tails words emerged as an angry growl in her mind. Narumi didn't care about that, not when pain flared again when she tried to move her leg. "I don't care about them, furball. Just heal it so I can run. Are you deaf, brat? If I healed this injury instantly, my chakra will become visible. You know what that means, don't you? They will think I am getting free and your life will get even tougher. Do you want that, huh, brat? I don't want that. Then just stay still and let me heal it. It will take a minute since the injury is deep, but I will heal it without my chakra getting visible." Narumi wiped the tears that were about to fall from her eyes. She gave a gratitude-filled smile through their link. "Thank you, furball." The titanic chakra beast clicked her tongue in annoyance. "Tch, disrespectful brat. Then give me your name if you want me to show you some respect." Narumi instantly retorted. An earth-shaking laugh emerged from the strongest being alive on the planet. "Ha, give you my name? Don't ask absurd things, brat. The majesty of my name will fry that puny brain of yours. You're not fit to hear the name of the majestic nine-tailed vixen. I bet it's pretty lame and that's why you don't tell me. You're just embarrassed that you got a lame name, furball. You puny little shit. Come inside the seal, brat. I will teach you some proper manners." "Never. You will smush me the moment I come inside. The seal is open, I will never come inside while you're angry." "Ha, at least this proves you do possess some bit of brain inside you, instead of that area being totally empty." Hey, their back and forth did the work. It distracted her from the pain as the chakra beast inside her worked at her injury. "Now stay still. I have to heal your nose, okay?" Hearing the two voices at merely a foot away from her, Narumi focused back onto the boy she had collided with, momentarily stopping her conversation with her tenant. With a wince, she noticed, he was bleeding from the nose. He must have banged his nose in the asphalt due to her. Pretty hard too, from how much he had already bled from his nose. The orange color of the front of his t-shirt had many spots of blood on them. With jealousy burning brightly in her heart, she noticed how the older woman, obviously his mother from how similar they looked, took care of him. Fussing over him and healing him. How she longed for someone like what that boy got, she had too. How she wished she could call someone her mother too. How she wanted someone to take care of her and fuss over her. Cook warm meals for her and love her. Tuck her into a warm bed every night. But alas, she knew they would forever remain just that, dreams. Never would anyone love her, nor would anyone care for her. For she was a monster in everyone's eyes. The same monster that destroyed their village 6 years ago. Nothing more, but everything less. The moment the boy's mother healed him, he was upon his feet. Rushing towards her, kneeling by her side, the boy looked at her knee worriedly. "That looks very painful. Ma, can you please heal her too?" Narumi's eyes widened. Didn't he know who she was? Why was he worried about her? Why was he asking his mother to heal her? Hesitantly, she turned her head to look at the boy's mother. She expected a look of loathing or anger at hurting her son, but nothing. The woman was busy squinting her eyes at her as if trying to remember something or searching for something. She must have found what she was looking for her onyx eyes widened. Narumi knew what was coming next as the woman started walking towards her. The moment the woman kneeled down beside her son, Narumi squeezed her eyes shut. This wouldn't be the first time that some parents slapped her for just coming in contact with their kid, which she hadn't even initiated to begin with. But here, right now, she had outright hurt someone's child. She expected a harsh slap, or even something worse. She waited, and waited still, but nothing happened. No pain came. Her head wasn't forced to the side by any blow. No, nothing. Anything, for that matter. In confusion, she opened her eyes just in time to feel the warmth enveloping her knee, and with borderline ridiculous amounts of disbelief, she looked on as this woman healed her wound. What was happening here? Why wasn't she berating her? Why wasn't she calling her a demon, or monster, or a murderer? Why wasn't she pulling her kid away from her? Why was she healing her wound? Why? Just why? In disbelief, she choked out a single word. Why? The woman seemed to ignore her question entirely, focusing on her wound, and then she started to speak. You shouldn't run blindly like that, dear. You could have suffered a more severe injury. Always look up while running, alright? Both of you only suffered a minor injury this time, but next time, it could be serious. Understand that, dear? Something lurched in her soul at how soft and soothing this woman's voice was. How filled with warmth and care it was. Why was she smiling so softly at her? Why? She could understand when someone showed her hate. She could deal with it by just feigning ignorance. She didn't know what to do. What was she supposed to say? No matter what she might want to say, no voice would have come out of her. There was a lump in her throat. It made her throat dry. It made it impossible for her to speak. And something made her small chest tight. So tight. Patting her knee gently, the woman stood up. The blonde kid following her movement also stood up. You're crying. Was it hurting so much? But it's alright now, isn't it? Ma healed you. Come on, stand up now. A hand was suddenly in front of her face. Let's get you cleaned up too. You're very dirty. Was she crying? She could certainly feel something wet and hot roll down her whiskered cheeks. Why was she crying? She didn't know. Just something was happening to her the longer she stayed with the strange mother-son duo. She stared at the hand as if it was the strangest thing she had seen. Her teary violet eyes followed that arm and focused on his face. Even though her vision was blurry due to tears, she saw him as clear as day. Eyes bluer than the clear lake she sometimes uses to take a bath in. Hair the shade of gold and as bright as the sun. And again, for the second time in her life, she saw someone smiling at her. The first being his mother. His smile was bright, brighter than anything, like the light at the end of her own dark tunnel. Looking at her expectantly that she would take his hand. Something in her soul cried to take his hand. Fingers twitched by her side. Take it, take it, take it, take his hand. Her mind chanted at her, yelling at her to take it. Slowly, very reluctantly, she started reaching for it with her own hand. That was all she managed before her tenant's snarling voice dripping with hate rang in her head. Bellowing a warning. Run, brat. They both are Uchiha. Something broke in her already broken soul at that moment. Uchiha? They were the worst. While everyone tried to hurt her physically, they did something far worse. Much, much worse. They tried to make her see things with their weird, glowing dull red eyes. Horrible, horrible things. They only lasted for a few seconds before the titanic entity inside her snapped her out of it. But they always did their number on her. They were just so horrible. Panic set first, then fear. Followed by emotions she didn't even recognize. Immediately, she batted his hand aside and bolted out of there. She scarcely heard the blonde boy's shout of, "Wait," behind her, busy as she was running away from the strange pair of mother and son. Of course, it just had to be Uchiha. Fate was a cruel mistress, after all. Something good can never happen to her. Not her. Never her. Still, she dared to glance back. Glanced at the boy who still had a hand stretched out, looking at her with sadness. Glanced at the older woman beside him, who was watching her retreating form with a frown on her face. Chest tightening, she looked in front again and ran. Not looking back. Never looking back. Because looking back brought a pang to her heart. And she didn't want to deal with the extra ache it brought to her heart. In the far future, she would often look back at this day, wondering how her life would have been if she had accepted that hand of his. How it would have changed her sooner. Would have changed everything sooner. But alas, those were only what and ifs. Something that would forever remain unchanged, no matter how much would she think about them. For now, she just ran. Because running away was all she could do for now. Mikaira watched the girl's retreating figure with a frown marring her delicate features. She had recognized the girl almost instantly. Her red hair, dirty as they might be, and her violet eyes were a clear indication of who she was. Lord Third had declared the child dead, but lo and behold, here she was. Alive and running, literally. She had only met the woman in passing, but her red hair was impressionable. This girl then could only be the child of Lord Fourth and his wife, Kushina Uzumaki. And from what she was hearing from around, that was the demon fox, wasn't it? Yeah, that thing was definitely the fox masquerading as a child. How could Lord Third even allow that thing to run free like that? He should have killed that thing. Lord Third has even passed down the law. We can't even do anything to that thing. Does that thing have no shame? Running around like that after murdering so many of us. Honestly, that thing should just die. She was also the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. The living container which contained the monster inside her and kept it at bay. But was it really? Was it really a monster? A mindless monster that everyone said it was? Although she didn't know it for sure, a being of such cataclysmic power could not be mindless. If it was mindless, the land they lived on would not be around. Everything would have been destroyed. There would have been no life around if it was truly as mindless as they say. No, a being of such power could not be mindless. Its power was incomparable. Certainly, it could be subdued by other means, but no one could ever hope to compare to its raw power. But that was entirely irrelevant right now. Pondering about it would grant her nothing but a headache. Hearing the things the populace was saying around brought a rare grimace on her face. Truly, what barbaric thinking. A child, the same age as her son, could not be a monster. Monsters did not cry, where she was. Monsters did not look scared, where she did. That was simply a girl with the worst hand of fate played to her. And for that matter, what was the Lord Third doing? From one look at the girl's malnourished short form, tattered rags she wore, and the very dirty skin, it was clear the girl was without a home. This girl was technically the princess of this village. She was royalty. Daughter of the last absolute ruler of this village. And she was also royalty on her mother's part. This girl was born in novelty, and yet, she was living the worst of life. Poorer than even the poorest around. She should have lived a life befitting a princess, and yet, she was homeless. Forced to bear all the hatred of the villagers. What unjust. She had no doubts in her mind that Lord Third knew of the girl's situation. There was absolutely no way he did not keep track of, as loath as she was to say or even think about it, the village's weapon. For that was what she had become as the Jinchuriki. Her worth as the daughter of the last Hokage did not remain much as she would be worth as the village's weapon. So what was he doing? Was this some kind of elaborate ploy of his? It certainly looked like it. Was he forcing this girl into the depths of loneliness so he can come and save this girl from it at the right moment, earning her absolute loyalty to him? To this village, that certainly looked like the scenario. For all his preaching as the kind, peace-loving old man, people tend to forget he still was the Hokage. The same one, who had led them to victory in 2 great ninja wars. He was also the student of the most shrewd and intelligent individual in history, the Lord Second, Tobarama Senju. Some such as him would certainly not be above playing underhand tactics like this so as to earn complete loyalty of the girl. But even for him, this was certainly low. Very low, indeed. Downright barbaric. Inhumane, even. Pity welled up in her for this girl. The girl didn't even have a choice in what she wanted to do in her life. Her choice was already taken away from her, by her very own father, no less. She would become a shinobi of this village, whether she liked it or not, doesn't matter to anyone. If she wanted to become a chef? Denied. An artist? Denied. Teacher? Denied. Everything? Denied. Anything? Denied. There was only one choice for her, really. She would be forced into the life of depravity. A mercenary for hire. And a loyal weapon for the village. Ordered to slaughter anyone or everyone in the name of the village. And if she decided to retaliate, she would be put down. The beast extracted from her and she would be left to die. That was how her life is going to be. There was no out for her as long as she lived here. No other choice for her. That's what her father had taken away from her. Her very own choice to choose what she wants to do. Certainly, she could dream. But her dreams had to revolve around only shinobi things. Like becoming Hokage, for example. There was nothing else for her, really. How could a father do this to his own daughter? What was he even thinking? He destroyed her life as soon as she took her first breath. He took any semblance of normalcy away from her. No, she understood it well enough. He decided to be a leader first and a father second. He succeeded as a wonderful leader but failed miserably as a parent. She doubted he would be able to look her daughter straight in the eyes. Or even call her his daughter, after what he had put her through when they met in the afterlife. She understood the decision well enough, but couldn't bring herself to sympathize with the man. If she would have been forced to choose between the village and her son, well, let's just say she would set the village on fire all by herself. No nine tails would be needed. She would become the reckoning herself. For her, Naruto was everything. Her dear child mattered to her the most. Everything. Second, she would betray anyone and everyone in a heartbeat if it concerned her child's safety. Nothing was too extreme in her mind, as long as Naruto remained safe. After all, she finally had something to call her own. She wasn't going to let him go. A mistake he might be, but to her, he was more. He was her everything. So yeah, she understood the man, but couldn't sympathize with him. They just had different morals and priorities. Hers was her son, his was his village. That was all to the matter. Nothing more, nothing less. Though she would be lying if she said she didn't lose any kind of respect for the man. Because she did. A lot of it. Ma, did I do something wrong? She focused her attention back on her son at his question. He was looking down at his hand that was batted aside sadly. Oh no, dear, you did nothing wrong. It's just, she struggled to find the word to explain her situation to him. In the end, she came up with nothing except for one single, simple word. Her situation is difficult right now, to say the least. Difficult would be a titanic understatement, but she couldn't explain it to him, not right now. As it was, he wasn't mature enough to understand it. Maybe in a few years, but not right now. Oh, so I did nothing wrong to upset her, really? Yeah, Naruto, she gently tousled his spiky hair. You did nothing wrong, instead you did the right thing by offering her a hand. Oh, instead of the smile he usually graced her with, he looked back in the direction the girl had run off to. She was scared. Her eyebrows rose in slight surprise. Oh, was she now? He nodded his head, still looking in her direction. She was very scared, as if she had seen a ghost. She was going to take my hand, but she was scared. A small smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. That was surprisingly very insightful of him. He understood that she was scared. Scared of something, that's why he asked if he did something wrong. Perhaps he would be able to understand her situation sooner. And, what do you want to do about it? He looked down at the hand that girl had batted aside. Small fingers curled in a tight fist. I want to help her. Her smile widened. Pride bloomed in her chest. At that moment, she felt as if she had done something right. Raised him right. She felt content, satisfied that she had turned into an all-right parent. Given him good morals in this moral-less world. Her hand tousled his hair once more, forcing his attention back on her. Then do it. Don't stop until she accepts your hand. She will need a friend. Someone to be with her. To be her support. Someone she could always come to no matter what she did. Someone she can feel safe with. Be that someone for her, alright? I will, Ma. Naruto nodded, thumping his chest with his small fist. Grinning broadly, all the while. Good boy. With the last ruffle of his hair, she offered him her hand. Shall we go now? His small hand latched onto her bigger one and he nodded. Let's go, Ma. Smiling, she started walking alongside him. This was good. This was all she could do for that girl. For she was an Uchiha. If she actively decided to search for her and then help her, the fragile peace between the village and her clan would snap. The foolish people will think that they were actively trying to get in the Nine Tails' good grace. And that would put Naruto in danger. She couldn't have that now. In no way will she ever do something that will put her son in danger. If she was someone else, someone other than an Uchiha, she might have been able to help the girl herself. But she was an Uchiha, so she couldn't. So, she was going to do the next best thing. If her son was able to befriend that girl on his own, then no one will suspect them. She could help the girl that way. But until he met her again on his own, they could do nothing. That was something she just had to keep faith in fate. Until then, nothing. She just hoped that girl's life would get better until he met her again. For now, she can only hope. Naruto. He tilted his head up. Yes, Ma? When you befriend that girl, do bring her home for dinner, alright? I think she would very much like to eat warm homemade food, okay? When, not if. Because she had absolute trust that her son would be able to befriend that poor girl. Naruto beamed up at her. Of course, Ma. She graced him with a soft smile and they continued walking. From her peripheral vision, she glanced at the populace throwing them suspicious glares. Some were even outright scowling at them. Of course, the little act of kindness on their part would not go unnoticed. People were angry with both of them. Her lips pursed in a thin line. Truly, this village is filled with barbaric brutes. Deciding they were not worth any more attention on her part, she focused forward again. Her eyes lit up at seeing a flower shop close by. Sweetie, let's stop by the flower shop. Huh? He looked up at her in confusion. Why? She blinked slowly. Because, we have to buy flowers for Rico. Rico? She looked at him in genuine shock. So Sharingan was all it took for him to move on? For all the cry. Rico, his eyes started watering again. Oh God. She thought that too soon. Honey, don't cry now. Rico, oh God. Why did she open her damned mouth? For the love of God. Somebody help her. Rico, please. Naruto, can you please take these plates to the table? Mikaira raised her voice loud enough so she could be heard throughout the house. Yes, Ma. His voice came from somewhere near the backyard. Rapid sounds of footfalls started to become clearer and clearer. Mikaira turned her head just in time to see Naruto enter the kitchen. A chiding expression came on her face. How many times have I told you not to run in the house, sweetie? You can slip on the flooring and injure. She cut herself off as she noticed something. Naruto came beside her with a sheepish expression on his face. Sorry, Ma, I will not do it again. Naruto. Yes, Ma? He tilted his head up to look at her. Your Sharingan is activated, again. He grinned, his vibrant scarlet eyes glinting due to the light falling straight on his face. Yeah, I know. I wasn't telling you know what. She exhaled a deep breath. Why are you using it so much, dear? Because it's the coolest thing, Ma. He stated it as it should be the most obvious thing in the entire world, while he started taking away the plates. I see. She shook her head with a resigned smile as she looked forward once again. One of the most fearsome bloodlines present. Just the mere sight of it has a great many people running away in fear. Reduced to a mere toy for her dear son's amusement. A toy of all things. All because he found it cool. It was so, per Naruto. Only her son could think of their entire clan's pride and joy as a mere toy for his amusement. Really, she had never heard of anyone using their Sharingan just for amusement's sake. And yet, her dear son was using it for just that, for his amusement. She had heard countless things by which their Sharingan had been described by, but never had she heard some other Uchiha calling them cool. As if describing some unique toy. Don't just overuse it again, okay, sweet. Thud. Mikaira looked up at the ceiling and heaved an audible sigh. Turning around, she watched with a bemused expression as her son was sprawled across the floor. This was not the first time this has occurred. How many times has it happened again? This was 11th or maybe the 12th time since he had activated his Sharingan 2 weeks ago. The first time she was worried, the same emotion continued for the second, the third, and the fourth time. After the fifth time, she started to feel amused by this. Yes, she was definitely amused. By the seventh time, she was laughing. Now, she felt a sense of detachment to it. Resigned herself that this was going to be a common occurrence in their house now. In hindsight, when he had asked her to teach him how to activate his Sharingan the morning prior the day he activated it, she should have known this would happen. She was sure some part of her knew exactly this would happen. But you know, as they say, hindsight is 20/20. If she were to look at this situation from a different perspective, there were no negatives of what he was doing, really. Just that he could hurt himself while falling, other than that, nothing. On the other hand, there were many positives to this situation. His chakra reserves were increasing bit by bit every day, not by a significant margin, mind you, but they were increasing at the end of the day, albeit at a very slow rate. Chakra coils were like any muscle in our human body. The more you strain them, the more they will grow. It just skipped the breaking down of the muscle part and just focused straight at growing. No, there was a breakdown in it involved. Her son lying on the floor and occasionally moaning, so tired, could be considered that. There was just no pain involved in the process. That was the difference in between muscles and chakra coils, she mused. The other positive effect was that he was getting accustomed to using Sharingan. In a very unique way than everyone else, but he was getting accustomed to using it. There was also some positive in his way too. He was using his Sharingan to notice the most mundane things in very significant detail. If that thing is taken into a battle, while his Sharingan will allow him to see more intricate things in the midst of battle. This unique use of his Sharingan will also make him notice some mundane things that others missed. And oftentimes, it's not the intricate details that make you win a battle, it's the mundane things you tend to miss. So you could say there was a method to this madness. More like a method to this recklessness. She pointedly ignored the amused voice in her head, focusing on the more pressing matters for now. Few silent strides brought her to her son's prone form. She looked down at his face with an exasperated look, but of course, there was also a touch of concern in her eyes. Again, sweetie? She sank down to her knees and helped him sit up. Are you hurt? He slumped forward and placed his chin on the dining table. Slowly, he shook his head. No, I am fine. Okay, I will bring breakfast. Just rest, okay? Another positive, or is it negative, to this situation. He was getting used to chakra exhaustion, being able to function properly, albeit sluggishly, relatively quick. This was strange thing, indeed. Everyone tends to shy away from completely depleting their chakra in order to avoid chakra exhaustion as much as they can. There are only a few instances in a person's life when they truly suffer from chakra exhaustion. People also tend to ignore this method to increase their chakra reserves. And why wouldn't they? Who wants to feel super sluggish on a daily basis? And yet, her dear son was getting used to it. As if chakra exhaustion was a daily exercise he had to do. She supposed it could be attributed to his large stamina. While he was drained of chakra, stamina was another thing altogether. His chakra reserves were smaller than his stamina reserves. To explain it simply, if her son were to fight in an only ninjutsu battle compared to a plain taijutsu battle, he would last excessively longer in a straight-up taijutsu battle, whereas he would be already drained in an only ninjutsu battle by not even half the time. His larger stamina helped him recover faster. In conclusion, it certainly didn't accelerate his chakra recovery rate, but he would be able to gain the ability to be back on his feet quicker than many individuals. It was yet another positive to this unique situation. His endurance was increasing. But while his chakra was increasing in meager amounts, his endurance was increasing at a significant rate. Unknowingly, he was training himself. While it was all a game in his mind, he was training himself. His body was becoming more accustomed to handling chakra stress, and his endurance was increasing day by day. In other words, a strong foundation was being built. If he so chooses, he could go far. Very far. Because he was building a foundation strong enough that many people won't be able to compete. Most people tend to start by wanting to learn cool ninja techniques, so no one focuses on the foundation first. Everyone just wants to dive headfirst in ninja techniques. No one cares for endurance, or even letting their bodies get accustomed to the stress using chakra brought to their bodies. That is the reason only a few are able to go very far in the shinobi world. Most never build a foundation strong enough that will take them far. And the others are in it for fun, for earning fame, specifically. She supposed it was a good thing in the end what he was doing. If he someday wanted to become a shinobi, he would find it easier than most. Though that, if, was looking more and more like when. Since the day he activated his Sharingan, he had become curious about it. Asking random questions about it and their clan. Getting interested in the history of their clan and more. It was looking like only a matter of time when he finally took an interest in becoming a shinobi. Well, until then, she supposed she should enjoy these innocent, fun-loving days. She should savor it all while he is still doing silly little things. Because after he became a shinobi, he would change. Everyone does. What he will see, what he will do, will change him. It will not change his heart, but mentally, yeah. Until then, she would enjoy everything with him. As much as she could. Setting the breakfast down on the table, she took a seat beside him. I will feed you, okay? He gave a tired smile to her and raised his head. Thank you, Ma. She gave him a gentle smile. After a quick prayer of, "Thank you for the meal," she started feeding him. Swallowing the bite she fed him, he looked up at her face. "Are you angry, Ma?" Swallowing her own portion, she looked at him with a curious look. "Why would I be angry, Naruto? You know," he looked down at his lap, "how I keep collapsing and make you worry. If I think about that, I suppose I should be angry with you." She smiled at seeing him flinch. "But, I am not." "Really? Really?" She nodded at seeing him look up at her with hopeful eyes. Picking up another bite for him, she moved it in front of his face. "Now say ah tilde." Smiling, he opened his mouth. Glad that his mother wasn't angry with him. "Ah tilde." She giggled. He was so cute. Feeding him another bite, she spoke with a soft smile on her face. "You're doing what every other child your age would do, Naruto. Although, you're overdoing it a tad bit, in this case, it's not necessarily bad. I don't mind that much, I am just worried you might hurt yourself while falling." Swallowing down the last remains of food, he looked back at her face with an apologetic look. "I am sorry, Ma. I will try to be more careful." Swallowing down her own bite, she gave him another one of her soft smiles. "I guess that's their tit then. I won't say anything more about this. You do what you think is right, okay? Just be careful, okay? Good." Besides, she pinched his cheek with her free hand and started pulling on it with a playful smile. It's hard to get angry at such a cute face. "Ma, wet goo. It hurt shish." Laughing, she let go of his cheek, patted it once, and started feeding him again. "Come on dear, say ah tilde." Naruto pouted. He tried to glare at her but couldn't. In the end, he opened his mouth. "Ah tilde." With a content smile on her face, she fed him and ate herself. Occasionally, she glanced at his face in curiosity. It was the first time for him to ask such a question as if she was mad or not, because she never got mad at him. Was he? "Were you feeling guilty, Naruto?" Abruptly, he flinched. Her suspicion was confirmed. He looked down at his lap, squirming in his place slightly. "A little." "Oh." A mischievous smile came on her face. Usually, she would never think of taking advantage of such a situation, but well, this time was special. "So, are you willing to make up for it?" His head bobbed at a fast rate. "I am." A gleam entered her onyx eyes. "Oofufufu. Then prepare yourself, sweetie tilde." He gulped. Somehow, he had this strange feeling he agreed to something really, really embarrassing. But oh well, he was feeling guilty to make his mother worried so much for the past 2 weeks. He was willing to make up for it. Besides, his dear mother wouldn't do anything too extreme, right? Right? Oofufufu. Somebody please save him. Turns out, she did. She went above and beyond to make him embarrassed. What did she do, you ask? She made him wear skirts. Frilly one, too. Not just one skirt. Oh no. She made him wear countless of them. Dresses too. And did he tell you about the wigs that she made him wear? Yeah, there was that too. She made him pose in them. She took pictures of him. And worst of all, she took him out of the house in them. God. He wanted to die when a lady asked if he was Naruto's sister or something. He was not Naruto's sister. He was Naruto himself. He wanted to be mad. So mad. He wanted to scream by the end of the day. But how can he, when she looked so happy, when she was enjoying herself so much? So how can he be mad? In the end, he agreed to wear more whenever she asked. And she did just that, shamelessly. But despite the utter embarrassment he felt, he also felt happy watching his mother be happy. His dear mother always did her best for him, so sometimes, he could do something for her too, right? While he didn't know it much, he knew every family consisted of a mother, a father, and a child. But he never felt the need for a father like other kids. He never felt jealous of watching other kids playing with their father. Because to him, his mother is both his mother and father. That's why he never asked why he didn't have a father. Because he simply never felt the need for it. So if his mother could work twice as hard for him, couldn't he suffer some embarrassment if it meant making her happy? He didn't know about what other people might think, but to him, the answer was as clear to him as if seeing something with his Sharingan. Yes, it was perfectly alright for him to suffer some embarrassment if it meant making her happy. But, all the sentiments aside, he will have his revenge. Oh, yes, justice will be swift, justice will be painful, it will be delicious. They are very delicious, honey. Makira said, sniffing slightly with a totally red face. They are, aren't they, Ma? His very visage was of innocence. His smile, the definition of innocence. Yeah, they are. Her eyes were watering due to the insane amounts of spice in the rice balls she was eating. Seriously, she had never seen a rice ball giving a feeling of malice before. Nor had she seen red miasma oozing from a mere rice ball before. It was his way of taking revenge, wasn't it? He was making her eat this because she had constantly made him wear all those clothes for the past month, wasn't he? He knew she didn't like spicy food that much. Some amount of spice was okay, it added a flavor to food, but this? It felt like he had used the entire bottle of red pepper. She was sure if she wanted to use some fire release jutsu, she just had to breathe. No use of chakra would be required. Natural flames would come out of her mouth at this moment. Her entire body felt sweaty. Eyes were watering, her nose was running, and her lips, mouth, and throat were burning. Worst of all, she couldn't deny the rice balls he had made. It was the first time he had made anything and she didn't have the heart to not eat them, no matter how spicy they were. All things considered, for his first try, the rice balls were perfectly shaped. As if they were made by her. Considering he had copied her, she wasn't that far in her thinking. Literally, he had copied her by using his Sharingan. Who knew you could learn cooking by using Sharingan? Truly, her dear son was discovering new mundane ways to use their clan's pride and joy. Do you need some water, Ma? Yes, dear. I would like that. She certainly needed it. Here, Ma, water. Thank, yo, splash. Oops, I dropped it. Her jaw slacked. Sadist. Her dear son was a sadist. For there was no mistaking the vindictive pleasure behind those clear sapphire eyes. She learned something today: if her son wanted revenge, he could be vicious. Utterly merciless when getting back at someone. Here, he slid his lunchbox towards her moments later. You can have my dessert, Ma. She blinked in surprise, accumulated tears rolling down her flushed cheeks in the process. Are you sure? He turned his head away from her. Just eat it, Ma. Ah, he finally reached his limit at watching her suffer. So even if it's a prank of his own, he couldn't watch her suffer for much. Ah, smiling, she accepted the dessert. A moan of relief and delight escaped her lips the moment she took a spoonful of the dessert, and it did its job at soothing her burning taste buds. Abruptly, he stood up from his seat. Seeing the curious look on her face, he answered her unspoken question in a soft voice. I am going to get milk for you. I have read in the newspaper that you read that milk can help when you eat too much spice. I will be back. She watched him go with a curious look on her flushed face. He was behaving differently from just moments prior. She shrugged her shoulders and got back at devouring the dessert back. She would ask it when he gets back, but for now. You are mine cheesecake. Tilda. This was heaven. This cheesecake was heaven. It should be a crime to make such a good cheesecake. Somebody, please just lock her up, yow. She yelped as something very cold was suddenly pressed against her hot cheek. Ha 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 ha. Hearing the familiar, slight high-pitched laugh, she turned to look at Naruto, but her vision was obscured by an expanse of a white thing. He pulled the bottle back and her eyes blinked back in proper focus on the bottle of cold milk. Here, Ma. He dangled the bottle of milk in front of her. Drink this. It will help yo. Gimme that. She pounced, snatching the bottle away from him and uncorking it in a single seamless movement. The moment the chilled liquid filled her mouth, a relieved moan came straight from her throat. Without stopping, she gulped mouthful after mouthful of it. The chilled liquid soothed her burning mouth and throat more than the cheesecake did. Ha tilde. A relieved sigh escaped her parted lips once she finished downing the milk. Okay. A bead of sweat rolled down the side of his face at the eagerness of his mother. Shrugging his shoulders, he took his seat back at the table. That helped, it really did. She might just send her thanks to the person who added that tiny tidbit of information in the newspaper. Are you feeling better now, Ma? Yes, dear, yes I am. She heaved another relieved sigh as the burning finally soothed down enough. It was still there, but it was negligible right now. I am sorry. She blinked in surprise at the unexpected apology. Was he feeling guilty now? That would explain his sudden change in behavior moments prior. Why are you apologizing, Naruto? It was just a harmless prank that was very justified. I'd like it, he mumbled. I am sorry dear, I didn't get it. Can you please repeat it again? His nose started to turn red. I didn't like it. Huh? Why was he getting embarrassed? Didn't like what, dear? He turned his head away from her and started squirming in his place. I didn't like watching you in tears. Tears? She blinked. She wasn't crying. Oh, honey, I wasn't crying. It was just due to how spicy the rice ball was. My eyes teared up. I still didn't like it. He mumbled, head still turned away from her. But she could see his ears turning redder by the second. Was it wrong she was smiling like a loon? If it was, she totally didn't mind. Because right now, she felt just so happy. And her son was just so cute. Ah, come here. No, stay away from me. Your hands are still full of pepper. Don't care, come to mama. No, no. Yeah. Honestly, Emiko shook her head in exasperation. You both are such a handful. We both apologize. Mikaira and Naruto had their heads bowed in apology, both seated in a dogiza with their hands touching the tatami flooring. Yeah, she waved her hand in dismissal. Just raise your heads, no need to be so dramatic. Both raised their heads as they were told, neither looked apologetic, both were supporting smiles. Emiko rolled her eyes at seeing that. You both are so shameless. We are sorry, she snapped. Say it when you both only mean it. Don't say sorry with a smile on your faces. Naruto snickered and Mikaira restrained a giggle behind an open palm. Emiko palmed her face. Why can't she just be mad at them? Oh right, Mikaira was like a little sister to her and Naruto. Well, he was cute. And she liked cute boys. End of the story. By the way, what were you two even doing? How did the tatami mat get wet in the first place? Naruto averted his eyes. She got her answer. And how did the table get flipped? Mikaira averted her eyes. And she got her answer. And why was there a tear in the door? Both averted their eyes at the same time. And she twitched. Right, I am taking the money for repairs out of your salary. Pooh, please, don't do that. How will both of us survive? Are you so cruel to do that? Mikaira pleaded. It's okay, Ma. Naruto abruptly hugged Mikaira. I will eat only 2 times every day, you don't have to worry. How can you be so cruel? Have you no shame? Mikaira hugged Naruto back. You don't have to do that, dear. I will eat only 1 time so you can get proper 3 meals. Both of them looked at Emiko together. We hope you're happy. Emiko's jaw slacked. They were acting as they were the victims here. The nerve of both of them. They even had the gall to smile at each other. Perhaps she was getting too soft on them. Yes, she had to remind them who was the boss around here. So, I am being cruel here, right? Her upper face got covered in an ominous shadow and a kendo stick appeared in her hands from somewhere. She smacked the shaft of the stick in her open palm, causing both the mother and son to flinch. Right? We were just joking, right, dear? Yeah. His head bobbed up and down so fast, Emiko thought it might fall off at any moment. We were just joking. Ah. She took a step forward, both of them retreated 3 steps back. It doesn't look like a joke to me. Mikaira and Naruto looked at each other, then back up at the suddenly looming over them Emiko. Both of them put up their brightest smiles. Mercy? All out of it. And then she swung the kendo stick down. My butt hurts, Tilda, Naruto groaned, lying on his belly on the wooden floor. Oh, hush, Emiko chided Naruto absent-mindedly as she was busy filling the bag up with groceries. I didn't hit that hard. You did. You so did, big sis. Naruto snapped from his position. Ho? Is there a problem with it? She glanced back at him with her upper face covered in an ominous shadow. No, Naruto squeaked. He forced a shiver down. She is so scary. Good. A self-satisfied smile blooming on her pale face. Finishing filling the bag up with groceries, she slid the bag across the counter. That will be 1,375 ryo, sir. Here, the dark-haired man placed the money on the counter. Smiling, she took the money and deposited it in the drawer, taking the change out in the process. Here, sir, your change. The man pocketed the change and hefted the bag full of groceries up and started walking out of the store. Thank you for your patronage. Please do come again. Emiko twitched. Couldn't he just say something instead of grunting? Damn typical Uchiha. You're an Uchiha too, big sis, Naruto reminded her cheekily. Don't try to be cheeky with me, brat. Naruto laughed. Love you too, big sis. HMPH. Cheeky brat. Her words lacked any heat and there was a small smile on her face. Here, I want these. Emiko's attention was pulled away from Naruto to the sound of a customer on the next counter. She blinked at the items deposited on the counter. That's a lot of snacks. She glanced at Mikaira and a feeling of dread started filling her at seeing the concerned look on her face. Oh no, she wouldn't. Ma'am, are these all for you? Mikaira asked the portly woman after glancing at the snacks. Yes, they are. Is there a problem? I wouldn't say there is a problem, but she placed her hand against her cheek and a worrying expression came over her face. You shouldn't eat this much, ma'am. These snacks are very unhealthy for you, they can cause many health problems. If you eat them unconcernedly akin to a pig, yo. Are you calling me a pig? The portly woman shrieked with a red face. And no, ma'am, I wasn't calling you a pie. Keep them, I don't need them, I will just buy them from another store where people aren't so rude. The portly woman scoffed and started walking away. Ma'am, please listen to me. Ma'am, ma, what did you say? Why did that lady get mad at you? You were just worried about her. Naruto asked with a genuine look of confusion on his face. I don't know, honey, I don't know. Maybe it was something I said. Mikaira replied with the same look of genuine confusion on her face. Emiko watched the confused mother-son duo with a dull look. Ah, now there are two totally tactless people. Mikaira turned towards Emiko and bowed her head. I am sorry, Emmy. I don't know why this keeps happening and the customers always get angry at me. I am so sorry. It's alright, Mikaira, it's not your fault. Not really. She was just born tactless, so it was not her fault technically. One look at her son also confirmed he was walking on the same path of tactlessness his mother walked. Worst of all, there was also no fix for this. You just cannot fix what was not there, to begin with. They both were born without tact. So there was nothing she could do except to accept it. You're not angry at me, are you? No, Mikaira, I am not. She would readily admit she was a relatively short-tempered individual, but getting angry at Mikaira was something she found hard, nigh impossible to do. This woman's, concerned for everyone, nature reminded her of her own little sister. No, perhaps it was because it was Mikaira who had become like this, she was reminded of her little sister more. That was also the reason she could never be angry at Mikaira. You will not be cutting my salary, would you? She sighed. No, I will not be cutting your salary. Mikaira smiled. Thank you so much, Emmy. The older Uchiha woman smiled in return. Just get back to work, Mikaira. Just then, a woman entered the shop with a curious look on her face. Glancing to the right and spotting them, she walked towards them. Is what I have heard is true? There is a flat 20% discount on toiletry items here? Mikaira's gaze snapped towards a catatonic Emiko. A hand delicately cupped her cheek. Oh dear, you shouldn't have used that word. The woman rightfully appeared confused. Huh? What word? I just want to know if there is a flat 20% off on toiletry items or not. Naruto hopped on his feet with a worried look on his face. Oh no, you used it again. What word, kid? What happened to her? The woman looked at the catatonic Emiko strangely. Flat, I am flat, I am flat? Emiko's entire frame started trembling before she suddenly sunk down to her knees and started sobbing. I am sorry, I am so sorry, that I am flat. What in the devil's name happened to her? Why is she suddenly crying? The woman shrieked in shock. Ah, Emiko has a trauma for the word you just used. Mikaira answered with a strained smile as she knelt down beside weeping Emiko and started rubbing her back. What word? The woman blinked. Flat? I am so sorry. So sorry for being flat? A bead of sweat rolled down the woman's face. I will just see myself out. I will come back later, okay? Bye. The woman didn't wait for a reply and just bolted out of there. Calm down, big sis, calm down. This is going to take some time. Mikaira just continued to rub Emiko's back. Hey, I just heard there is a flat 20% off on toiletry items here, is it true? I am so sorry for being flat. Bis sis, what did I say? Oh, dear, this is definitely going to take some time. Thank you for your patronage. We do hope you will come again. HN. Mikaira heaved a sigh as yet another fellow clan member grunted instead of replying. She had figured it out ages ago that the grunt was a genetic trait that almost all Uchiha inherited. Almost. Sometimes it makes me wonder what crawled up their asses and died. Emiko, language. She admonished gently, casting a look back at her son, who was too busy reading the book about their clan to pay any attention to them. Bah, the brat is nose deep in the book to pay any attention to us. It's not like he heard me. Emiko replied with a dismissive gesture of her hand. Still, Mikaira insisted. I don't want him to become a foul-mouthed person. Emiko snorted. You worry too much, Mikaira. The brat is a copy of the current you. He is not going to pick up bad habits at this rate. Mikaira didn't say anything more to that and just huffed. She had known this woman since she was barely a teen, so Emiko knew exactly how she was before she changed. And she was not proud of her past self. At all. Emiko was her older sister. The one who decided not to become a shinobi so she will inherit the family's store and her little sister could live her dream of becoming a shinobi. When she had died, protecting her, taking the blow meant for her, she had always thought Emiko would always hate her. She wouldn't have blamed the older woman if she did, but she didn't. Instead, they both found comfort in each other. Emiko became an older sister of sorts for her. Perhaps the woman was just using her for a substitute for her, but she didn't mind. She needed someone as much as Emiko needed someone. So they found comfort in each other. Over time, using each other as a substitute was all but forgotten, forming a bond of one where they took care of each other like real siblings. Emiko was the only person, dead or alive, who knew who Naruto's sperm donor was. Yes, sperm donor. Though she did consider him as his father when she hadn't given birth to him and raised him, after raising him, she considered no one to be his father. Regardless, she was getting off topic here. Telling Emiko that fact alone showed how much she trusted the older woman. Or it would be better to say, she trusted only this woman in the entire village. You know, Mikaira's attention came back to Emiko as she started speaking. I am still surprised you're letting him read our clan's history or how our basic Sharingan works. At the rate he is taking an interest in these things, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes an interest in being a shinobi. I thought you didn't want him to become a shinobi, what changed? Nothing changed, she shook her head and softly replied. I still don't want him to become a shinobi. I know for sure the shinobi life is not suited for him. But if he wants to become something on his own, I wouldn't deny him. I will never stop him from pursuing his dreams. What I want is solely for me to want, it's not his duty to fulfill my wants. But it's my duty to support him in anything he wants to do. That's what I learned after being a parent, you know. Emiko stared at her for several long seconds before she shook her head and started giggling. In other words, he got you wrapped around his little fingers. Maybe, Mikaira shrugged her shoulder helplessly. It wasn't like what she had said was wrong. Besides, what parent doesn't like being wrapped around their child's little fingers? Once Emiko's giggling subsided, a gentle look appeared on her face which was rare for a woman with such a strong character. You know, you may have failed as an Uchiha, may have failed as a teammate, may have failed as a medic ninja, may have failed as a shinobi, but you succeeded with flying colors when it comes to being a parent to Naruto. Emi, her eyes felt blurry due to the tears gathering in her eyes. She gave a brilliant smile to her. Thank you. Coming from you, those words mean a lot to me. Yes, well, she immediately turned away from Mikaira, heat rising to her cheeks. Don't expect me to say such embarrassing words again, okay, woman? Mikaira giggled behind an open palm. Of course, Emi. Seriously, this woman was such a tsundere. And don't just stand there giggling like that, get back to work. Mikaira giggled again. Yes, ma'am. Emiko huffed. Like mother, like son. Both were just so damn cheeky when they wanted to be, and sometimes, even more than she can handle. Ma? Mikaira wiped the gathered tears away and turned around to face her son. Yes, dear? Naruto looked up from the book with a curious expression on his face. Can I ask you something? Sure, honey, what do you want to ask? It is stated in the book that, his eyes went back down to the book in his hands. A person only awakens Sharingan after suffering from some mental trauma. How did you unlock it, Ma? Her smile dropped a bit at that. Seeing the change in his mother's expressions, Naruto hastened to add. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. No, it's alright. Your question just caught me off guard. I don't mind answering it. She had known this question would come sooner or later, so she was prepared for it, but asked so abruptly, she was just thrown off guard for a moment there. She heaved a sigh and began to tell him. I gained my Sharingan when I was around 11 years old. It happened during my team's 3rd C-rank mission. It was supposed to be a simple package delivery, nothing more nothing else, but we got ambushed by a bounty hunter, Hiwa. Wait, what is a C-ranked mission? What are missions, ma? What is a bounty hunter? Ah, right, he doesn't know this all. For the first time ever, she willingly indulged him in ninja-related things. Missions are what shinobis are assigned, Naruto. They are given to every squad depending on their skills and rank. Now, I will explain that to you later in detail because probably every reader knows about them in detail, so let's not waste time, okay? His face scrunched up in even more confusion. What readers? Don't break the fourth wall, Makaira, or else. An ominous shadow covered Emiko's upper face and a kendo stick appeared in her hand from somewhere. Rewrite, sorry, ahem. As I was saying, I will explain how many ranks are there on a later date, okay? Good. She smiled at him and explained the rest to him. But I will tell you what a bounty hunter is. Bounty hunters are those shinobis who had defected from their villages for the sake of just collecting bounties. Generally, they are unsatisfied with the lack of fights or money they are getting in the village and set out in the world themselves to get either of those or both of those. Are you with me so far? Naruto bobbed his head as he continued to listen with rapt attention. He is listening to this with the utmost attention. I have never seen him this much interested in something besides the Sharingan or that poor girl. Her lips pursed in a thin line. She shook her head, filing that thought for later and continued. As a shinobi gets more infamous or famous, they start to gain a price on their persons. Usually, that price is listed by other villages that want that particular person dead or alive, or by a group, or it can be even from an individual. Bounty hunters hunt these individuals and take them as they are required. Some can become bounty hunters due to their circumstances, but otherwise, it is usually very greedy or battle-hungry people. Do you understand that now, Naruto? He stayed silent for some time. Some parts flew over his head, but he understood the gist of it. Bounty hunter, in other words, bad people. He nodded. I do, I think. That's enough for now. Her smile that she gave him shattered so much like a brittle glass as a shuddering sigh left her lips. Now, as I was saying, we were ambushed by a bounty hunter. Our sensei had a good amount of bounty on him from what he told us. The bounty hunter for that reason ambushed us. Long story short, one of my teammates died. Naruto gasped in horror. Died? Yes, honey, she nodded dolefully. He died. He wasn't even a friend of mine, he was just a teammate, an acquaintance if you will. We haven't even been a team for that long, but he was a teammate nonetheless, you know. His death was what unlocked my Sharingan. Oh, Naruto quietly looked down at the book in his lap. That's horrible. It is, dear. That's what shinobi life is. While some people from her village might call her manipulating at what she was doing, she preferred to tell him straight facts. Purely unfiltered. That's how she liked to tell him. You may think it was her own bias towards shinobi life that made her say that shinobi life is horrible, but truly, it is not. At the base, shinobi is just an exaggerated term for murderers. What made them different from the others is that they did it for the sake of the village. That didn't make it any more justified that they were, in the end, committing murder. If a shinobi is assigned a task to kill someone, they wouldn't care if that person has a family. Have children, have a wife or a husband, have parents dependent on him, her. They wouldn't care if that person is innocent. They would care for nothing except their mission. And if that person refused to complete her mission, then she would be berated. Punished. No matter how much anyone glorifies the shinobi world, in the end, it is a very horrible world. There are no heroes in the shinobi world. For one who might be a hero, for the other, she would be the biggest villain. There are always two sides of a coin. People just tend to ignore that and focus on only one side, so they can justify their actions. Lord Fourth can be perhaps one of the biggest examples of this. The man who single-handedly ended the Third Great Shinobi War. Hailed as a hero. But was he really? A hero, that is. No, he wasn't. He committed a mass slaughter of over 1,000 shinobi, all in the name of this village. Here, he was hailed as a hero. In the Rock Village, well, he was their bane. The one who tore apart hundreds of their families. But it was a war, both sides were hurt. The Rock Village also tore apart hundreds of families. So no side could be put on one another. In the end, both sides were full of murderers. So could anyone fault her, for trying to spare her only child the horrors of this cruel world? Well, personally, she didn't care for 2 bits of what others might think of her. She wouldn't lie to her dear son about what shinobi life was. If he truly desired to be one, she would not spare him any grisly detail at what being a shinobi truly entails. Call her whatever you want, but she wasn't going to let her child go out in the world thinking it's all sunshine and rainbows, only to discover that very dark thunderstorms were out there. Nope, she would tell him herself what the world was truly for its worth. The morbid silence in the shop was broken as Naruto perked up, although there was a visible lack of energy in him now. How did you unlock it, big sis? You were not a shinobi, right? So how did you unlock it? Emiko stuttered over her own words and a slow flush started to creep up her neck and enveloped her entire face till the very roots of her hair. Mikaira started laughing, the morbid atmosphere all but forgotten. You know, it's a very funny story, dear. Really? Don't you say it. Emiko tried to growl with a scarlet face, but it came out as a pitiful whine. Mikaira grinned. I'ma say it. Don't you dare say it. I'ma say it. No. Yes. Mikaira laughed. You see dear, your big sis here unlocked her Sharingan when she first gained the trauma for that word. At first, Naruto seemed confused, but not a moment later, his shoulders started trembling, and then. Mikaira also laughed with him, but Emiko, well, get out of my store. Don't you two dare show your faces again in my store. I hate you. I hate you both so much. Well, she cried. A lot. Not surprisingly, Emiko did throw them both out after that little debacle. She hoped she would not cut her salary in some form of vengeance, but she digressed. That woman was vicious when it comes to taking revenge. She suddenly understood where Naruto got this sadistic side to him. Oh, well, it wasn't like she really needed the job. The money she had earned during her time as a ninja was still there. Still, she preferred to keep that money saved. You never know what could come up and all her money could be gone in an instant. For their day-to-day expenses, she preferred the job. Another thing was, she wanted to help Emiko. Of course, with how the older woman is, she would never accept anyone's help, so she applied for a job there. She got a salary every month and her desire to help Emiko was also fulfilled. What was that saying again? Yes, she hit 2 targets with 1 kunai. It was a well-thought-out move on her part if she did say herself. Emiko was not able to decline her help and she started earning a steady income. A very well-thought move, indeed. Ma? She perked up at being called and turned her head slightly to look at Naruto, who was still nose-deep in the book he was reading. Yes, dear? Who was Madara Uchiha? She stilled, eyes going wide at his question. Of all the things he had to be interested in, it just had to be that man. Why did you ask that, dear? It's just that, his eyes went back down to the book he was reading. There are many mentions of the name Madara in this book but there is no information on him. He looked back up at her with a curious tilt of his head. Why is that, Ma? Why did the author even have to mention him? A simple question raged in her mind. She took a deep breath and calmed herself. Panicking over anything wouldn't do any good. She turned back in front and closed off all the burners and flipped the switch off for the rice cooker. She had a feeling this was going to be a long chat, so she took all the necessary steps so their dinner wouldn't be ruined. Again, washing her hands off in the sink, she turned around to the patiently waiting Naruto. Heaving an internal sigh, she walked towards the table. Taking a seat opposite to him, she contemplated what to say. Should she straight up tell him he was someone he shouldn't aspire to be or something else, Finally, she chose her words carefully. Madara Uchiha was someone who was, initially a good man but turned into something no one should aspire to be due to circumstances. She supposed that was the best way to describe the legendary Uchiha. Since she was a bookworm since starting, she had read almost everything the Uchiha library had to offer. She didn't know what he was or who he was by reading countless books on him. That was even written by some people that were close to him. Personally, she had no knowledge of how he was in real life. Only people who were alive by that time could tell that, but she would not be lying if she said she had more knowledge about him than most people today just by reading so many books on him. And by what she had read so far, this was the best way to describe the man. Turned bad by circumstances? What circumstances, Ma? His curiosity getting piqued by the minute, he questioned further. Mikaira's lips pursed in a thin line. Should she tell him more or should she stop? She was getting this strange feeling if she continued telling him, she would not like the results by the end of this talk. At all. Bah, what the hell? She had never kept anything from him when he had asked, so why was she hesitating now? Whatever happens, happens. She was a firm believer in everything that happens for a reason. So this talk must be happening for a reason too. Her hesitation about the situation going down the drain, she told him what he asked. Madara Uchiha at first was a good man. A loving brother and a protective man of his family. During the time he lived, it was full of constant fighting. Uchiha and Senju. These two clans were the most powerful and kept on fighting for dominance over the other. When someone will hire one clan for protection, the other will hire the other for their own. That all started to change when Madara Uchiha met Hashirama Senju by an accident. Are you following me so far? Naruto bobbed his head in affirmation. A questioning look filtered on his face not a moment later. Hashirama Senju was the first Hokage, wasn't he? Yes, correct. Hashirama Senju was the first Hokage. She smiled at him, glad he still remembered the names of the leaders of their village. While she never told him about anything shinobi related, general knowledge as who was their previous village leader was something she didn't stop from telling him. And when, well, you have four massive, stone faces staring down at you every day, you tend to get curious at what they are. Now then, as I was saying, that all started to change when they both met. Obviously, since the times were so violent, both of them didn't reveal their names, but a friendship was born between the two of them over time. One day, without their knowledge, they both were discovered by their younger brothers. Madara's younger brother Izuna and Hashirama's younger brother too. Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage, right? Naruto cut her mother off and continued for her as he remembered that much. Well done. That was correct, dear. She couldn't stop herself from smiling at how invested he looked in the story. Whether it was a good thing or not, for now, she didn't care. She just continued to tell him. As they were both discovered, their fathers and both their younger siblings jumped in for a battle. Since neither of them was willing to fight at that moment, a mutual back-off was decided, but with a promise that they will continue this and their friendship was over. As time passed, both sides grew strong. Time and time again, both of them fought, neither gaining an upper hand. But one day, everything changed. Tobirama killed Izuna. He killed him? His eyes going wide with a look of utter horror etched on his face. Yes, dear. Tobirama killed Madara's younger brother, Izuna. But why would he do that? Because those were times like that, Naruto. Every day countless deaths happened. It was a very bloody time. If someone just said they're from the Uchiha clan in front of a Senju unknowingly, they would be killed. Likewise, the same happened if someone said they were a Senju in front of an Uchiha. It was a ruthless era, Naruto. Only the strong survived then, unlike today, where everyone lives relatively peacefully. Killing was the norm then. It truly was a heinous era. She could only imagine the horrors the people of that time would have to face every day. No children were safe. No elders were safe. Everyone just prayed that they could live to see another day. Just thinking about that time was enough to make her shudder. That's horrible. So horrible. Why would anyone want to kill another person? That's just wrong. This is the exact reason she never wanted him to become a shinobi. Her son has a very simplistic way to see the world. He has a very simple moral compass, it's either good or bad, there is no in-between for him. While every child has a similar moral compass, her son was different. Other people change with time. They see things, they do things that changes them. Her son just lacked the capacity to change his heart. His was a very, very gentle heart. Leagues more so than herself. While she had become a soft person, he was born a soft-hearted person. There is a difference. A major difference. People who are born with such souls tend to have a very simple moral compass. Whenever they see something that is wrong in front of them, they jump in between to correct that wrong. It wouldn't matter to them if the person who is doing the wrong thing is their comrade or is it happening out of necessity. They would jump. A shinobi's very life revolved in a gray world. Theft, deceit, torture, murder, or anything you could think of, it was not considered wrong as long it was a mission. People like her son simply aren't suited for that life. When people like her son change, they never change for good in this line of work. Their spirits get broken. They become a hollow shell of what they were previously. What mother would want that for her son? She certainly did not. Earlier, when she had told him about her teammate's death, she had told him just that, he died. She didn't elaborate on it. A child's mind works differently than an adult's, naturally. Usually, when they are told something, they believe in it. Unless they are very interested in it, they won't question you on it. When she had told him her teammate died, he didn't ponder about it. He just registered the words, "he died," and left it at it. He didn't find the obvious meaning behind those words because his brain simply didn't want to. Now, when she outright told him that someone killed some other, his utterly revolted expression was something she had expected. Like I said, dear, times were different then. If you didn't kill first, then someone else will kill you. That's just how the times were then. She explained to him gently, again. Not that would do anything good to him judging by his revolted expression. That's just wrong, Ma, so wrong. I never said it was right, did I, Naruto? It's just, you have to do what you have to do to survive, dear. That is one thing that will never change. In time, you will learn, you will come to understand that fact. But I will never kill anyone. He mumbled softly while looking down. Nobody is asking you to do that, dear. Unless you decide to become a shinobi, that is. She wisely kept that thought to herself, for now. A silence descended between them. It wasn't pleasant, nor it was suffocating. It was just that, a silence between them. She heaved a sigh and broke the silence. After Tobirama killed Izuna, Madara lost his will to fight. Naturally, his first thought would be that Hashirama would kill him, but that didn't happen. Hashirama instead offered him his hand, offering his friendship again and a wish for a truce to be between them. Bitter from the loss of his brother, Madara rejected it and instead, he gave an ultimatum to Hashirama. That if he really wanted a truce, either kill himself or kill his brother. Naruto's grimace deepened, if that was even possible. Everyone was just focused on killing and more killing. He was hating this more and more by the second. Makaira continued. Against all odds, Hashirama surprised Madara again. He started preparing to take his own life. He even told everyone his will to not hurt any Uchiha after he died. Just when he was about to kill himself, Madara stopped him. From then on, a truce was formed between them. For the first time, Uchiha and Senju came together. Eventually, they both built a village together. The village came to be known as the Ville. The village hidden in the leaves, right? So this village was created by Madara Uchiha? He was one of the founders of it? A sliver of happiness seeped in his clear sapphire eyes. A tinge of excitement finally coursing through his body after the long morbid tale. A thin smile came on her face as she saw him gaining some of his energy back. She nodded. Yes, Madara Uchiha was the co-founder of this village alongside Hashirama Senju. Furthermore, he was the one who had named this village. Not very long after clans started to come here to settle down, and before long, the village was blooming. Things were finally starting to look good for everyone, except, they weren't, for Madara at least. What happened? Every positive emotion he felt moments prior seeping out of his body. Madara felt as if his clans and his position was being threatened in the village. Hashirama being named the Hokage didn't help either. Day by day, his bitter feelings started returning. He tried to rally his fellow clan members, but no one wanted more bloodshed, content as everyone was after finally being freed from the war. In the end, he left the village. Filled with bitter emotions, he left. Oh, a despondent expression remained on his face. But that isn't the end of it, you know. It isn't? There was no energy in his reply. He had already given up on this story. It was just so sad. No, dear, it isn't. She heaved a heavy sigh at seeing his despondent expression. Regardless, she continued. One day, Madara Uchiha returned. Filled with negative emotions, he came back to kill Hashirama. Of course, with how Hashirama was, he tried to talk some sense into him. But nothing worked. In the end, they fought. Their battle changed the landscape. Mountains were destroyed, lands were torn, everything was destroyed in their wake. Their battle shook the lands itself. Both men, unrivaled in power, fought with everything they had. In the end, Hashirama won and Madara perished after the battle. That, dear, was the story of the man named Madara Uchiha. Again, a silence descended. She silently watched as her son remained unmoving and just kept looking down at the book. Seeing as he wasn't going to say anything, she broke the silence in a soft voice. In the end, Madara Uchiha was just a good man gone bad due to his circumstances. Perhaps if his brother never died, He may have not changed that much, but he did. Nowadays, Madara Uchiha is seen as something evil. An insurmountable pillar of power that no other Uchiha or anyone else, for that matter, can surpass. And, the village's first traitor. That is all that is left of him now. Wrong. He mumbled. She blinked. I am sorry, honey. I didn't hear it. Can you please speak more clearly? That is wrong, he said with enough volume that she heard him. What is wrong, dear? People just forget about all the good he did. He was the one who founded this village, helped Lord First in building it, and yet, no one remembers it. That is wrong. Naruto, a soft sigh left her lips. Let me tell you something. In this world, if you commit 100 good deeds and 1 evil deed, you will be remembered by that 1 evil deed, not by the 100 good deeds you have done. People are judgmental. They will always judge you by your bad traits. No one cares for your good traits as long as they find something bad in you. That was one ugly truth of humanity. The quicker he learned that, the better. That is just so wrong. You mean no matter how much good a person does, no one will care about that if that same person did a bad thing? He will be labeled a bad person forever? Yes, that is exactly what I meant, Naruto. That is just how society works. Then society is wrong. It is wrong. 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 So wrong. His head whipped side to side with every denial he made. Her eyes widened at the vitriol behind his words. A moment later, her eyes softened and a soft smile quirked her full lips upwards. Then don't be like them. He blinked, stupefied at her words. She giggled at his expression. What? Were you looking for something of a big solution for it? No, dear. You can't change people's minds so easily. Rather, just don't be like them. When people see something different, initially they try to reject it, but after a time, they want to be like that. Simply be that someone they look up to. She shook her head and sighed softly. Contrary to what everyone likes to think, major problems always don't require major solutions, you know. Sometimes, simple things like that work wonders. Just don't be like them. Don't judge anybody. Do that and you will already be leagues better than many. And when people see someone better than them, what do they try to do? They, try to be like that. He scratched his head in confusion, unsure of his answer. She nodded. Exactly. Not at first though, but eventually, they try to be like that. Everyone, in the end, wants to be the best of themselves, after all. So simply, don't be like that, okay? Okay. I will never judge someone. I will never be like them. I promise. He resolved himself. He will never judge someone like that. Never. There it was again. The pride blooming in her chest, warming her heart. Damn, she was an awesome parent. Why didn't she try parenthood earlier? Oh, right. She didn't get drunk enough before. Reaching across the table, she ruffled his spiky hair. Good boy. Never forget that promise, okay? Ruffling his hair once more, she sat back down in her seat. This time, the silence that descended between them was pleasant. While the pleasant atmosphere was all good and all, a constant nagging in the back of her mind gnawed at her being. This couldn't be the end of the conversation. She had a feeling this would turn into something she didn't like, and when it comes to Naruto, her feelings are never wrong. Never. So what was it that was making her unease? Ma? She tilted her head questioningly. Yes, dear? Earlier, you said that Madara Uchiha was someone unsurpassable, is that true? Yup. There it was. She could just see what was going inside that little head of his and she did not like where this was going. At all. Gulping thickly, she nodded. Yes, dear. It is true. No one has been able to surpass him. Is it impossible to surpass him? Seeing his eyes twinkle with interest, she knew this was already over. Slowly, reluctantly, she shook her head. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's just very, very hard to surpass him. So much so, no one has been able to do that. Can I? He pointed to himself and tilted his head to the side. Surpass him? Her shoulders slumped heavily. Of course, it was this. She knew this was where it was going. Heaving a very heavy sigh, she asked him rather than answering. Why? Why do you want to surpass him, Naruto? Oh, a grin came on his face. I want to be like him. She choked on her own spit. What? Excuse me? Yeah. Unheeding to her aghast expression, he bobbed his head. I want to be like the good Madara. Good Madara? What in the bloody hell is a good Madara? Just what was he talking about? Sweetie, what exactly is, a good Madara? Like you told me, Ma, at first, Madara Uchiha was a good man, right? She nodded her head slowly to his question. Yes. Naruto bobbed his head to himself. I want to exactly be like the good Madara. He was strong and loving. I want to be exactly like that. Strong and loving like him. I don't want to be like the bad Madara he turned into, but I want to be like the good Madara he was. She looked at him with an incredulous expression. Good Madara? Bad Madara? What was this? How can you distinguish a person into two parts for your convenience? But this was just so, him. Separating the good and bad apart. And setting the good as a goal for himself. This was something perhaps only her son was capable of doing. Who else can say they want to be like the good Madara? No one, that's who. Still, no matter how ridiculous it sounded, it was a good goal. No one can deny Madara was a very loving individual towards his brother, and he was strong. Ridiculously so. If her son wanted to be like that, well, she has no problem no. No. She did. She actually has a very big problem with this. But that aside for the moment, she still has a question for him. Why do you want to surpass him in power, Naruto? That was a thing she didn't quite understand. Being like the good Madara is all good and all, but what purpose will it serve him? Gods forbid, did he finally decide to become a shinobi or something? Because no one has ever done it before. He answered her with a look of, why are you even asking this, isn't it obvious? That's your reason? Try as she might, she couldn't hide the hint of ridiculousness seeping in her tone. Yup, his head bobbed in emphasis. No other reason besides that? I don't know. He crossed his arms in front of his chest as a thoughtful look appeared on his face. But it sounds cool to do something no one has ever done it before, you know. Okay, it was decided. Her son is a little weird. Definitely a little weird. He wanted to surpass the Madara Uchiha because it was cool? Cool? Yup, she gives up. She was done with this. Okay, honey, you can do whatever you like. I won't stop you. Nope. All kinds of nope. A full house of nopes. She was done with this shit. If he wanted to surpass Madara freaking Uchiha because it was cool, let him. Thank you, Ma, you're the best. Naruto cheered. She nodded absent-mindedly, feeling detached to the sheer ridiculousness of the situation. Abruptly, Naruto stopped in his cheering, a look of confusion marring his features. Ma, how'd I surpass him? She blinked. You train, dear. Confusion intensified. In what? Everything, basically. She hummed and thought at that. Madara was good at almost everything, I think. So if you want to surpass him, you had to do all that. Oh, okay. He nodded slowly. A look of thoughtfulness appeared and he looked at her curiously. Will you help me, Ma? I don't know what that everything is, so will you help me? Of course, dear. Do you even have to ask? Regardless of the ridiculousness of the situation, it was a good goal. He wanted to become strong and a good person. What else can she ask of him? And if he was willing, she would do her damned best to help him. I can surpass him, right, Ma? A bit of uncertainty creeped out through his happy visage. I don't know, honey. She didn't mince her words. Giving false hope was one thing a parent shouldn't do, or maybe only she thought like this. Regardless, she saw fit to tell him straight, like she always did. It's never been done before for a reason, you know. It's going to be really hard to do that, but I do believe if you want to, you might be able to surpass him. Nothing is truly impossible if you put in enough effort. Are you willing to put in enough effort? I am, Ma. A broad grin of excitement was her answer. It will be very tough, dear. Are you sure? He outright laughed this time. Come on, Ma. I am, just accept it. Alright, I will train you. For better or worse, she accepted it. He might surpass him or he might not, but he will be able to say at least he tried. She knew a major part of him was thinking of this as a game, but to her, this was the best opportunity to teach him some much-needed self-defense in this war-torn world. If he truly put in the effort, she would also do her best and take this seriously, and she knew her son never did anything half-heartedly. It was either putting in maximum effort or no effort whatsoever. Going by his cheering, he was going to put maximum effort this time. Though a question still nagged at her being and she voiced it out after he calmed down after his cheering. Naruto, are you planning on becoming a shinobi? He looked at her in surprise at her question, but he quickly shook his head. Nope, shinobi sounds like a bad thing. Not doing it. Nah, thank goodness. A weight was immediately lifted off her shoulders. This was good. This was definitely good. So much so, a smile came on her face. That's good, dear. Okay, he scratched his head in confusion, not understanding why his mother suddenly looked so happy. He shrugged his shoulders. She was happy, that's all that mattered to him. The reason behind her happiness didn't matter to him. A few seconds of silence passed between them and he started squirming in his position. Finally, not being able to take it any longer, he blurted out. When are we going to start? She looked at him in confusion. Start what, dear? Training, ma, what else? He threw his arms up in exasperation. Oh, that. Understanding dawned her and a look of amusement came on her pale visage. Aren't you hungry, dear? Nope, I am not hungry. Let's start try. Grumble. Traitor. Naruto scowled down at his stomach. His face started going red as his mother laughed. He huffed and looked away. Not funny. Makaira tried her best to restrain her giggles, but she failed. Horribly. He looked just so cute when embarrassed. When she finally did stop, he resembled a tomato. A tomato with blonde hair, that is. A playful look filtered on her face. Sue, hungry? He didn't look at her but slowly, reluctantly, he nodded. Yeah, she grinned at him, enjoying his flustered expression to the fullest. She questioned him in a faux innocent tone. But what about training, dear, don't you want to start it? You're a meanie, ma. The flustered glare he gave her was way too cute. Perhaps she was a sadist too? Meh, who cares? Laughing, she stood up from her seat, going back to making dinner for both of them. Even as her son cutely grumbled behind her, it took quite a while before she calmed down. Still, there was that nagging in the back of her mind. It should have quelled down after hearing his answer about becoming a shinobi, but it didn't. Maybe it was a mistake deciding to train him, after all. But how was she supposed to know this was the start of it all? How was she supposed to know that the decision he had made on a whim is going to shape him into the man he will become? How was she supposed to know that she would be the reason he will one day surpass everyone? How was she supposed to know that she was the reason he will finally decide to become something she didn't want to? For now, she knew nothing. In time, she will learn. She would come to accept it. But for now, she remained blissfully unaware. Unaware of the maelstrom she would unleash on this world. Unaware of the things that maelstrom would do. How he would change things. Would change people. Would change the very world. But yes, for now, she remained blissfully unaware. Because if she knew the things he would go through, she would have never accepted to train him. Never.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.